EWBSX, the cyberbully. It's not safe, but it's good.
Years from now. So much, you may even get tired of winning, and you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome, and Happy New Year. Happy 2026 to all of you. This is the first lab of 2026, and we are getting off on a Labian foot. We're starting very, very late. This is actually, I say this sometimes, and I think I mean it this time. This is probably going to be a little shorter than usual. I really hope that it's a little shorter than usual. I got to try to keep it in my pants. Got to keep myself under control because, I can't keep going until 2 in the morning. That's just too much. That is too much. That's pushing it too far. We were in the voice chat until like 6 o'clock this morning, 6:30 this morning, and had another victim. Another person fell asleep in the voice chat. He's done it before. He did it this time. He actually did it multiple times, and then finally we all just left. Tip jar is full. So that's another thing. I didn't even have time. I was busy with some other work earlier today, so I didn't even have time to update the tip stuff and everything. And that is a big piece of news. Let's just play that here real quick.
Here comes the money.
Alpha male alert!
Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money.
The gayest man on earth.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar. Ching, ching, bling, bling. Cut the chatter. You ain't talking money, then you're talking no matter.
Just finishing up last night's LABE. This is coming in before the end of the year, so still do the giveaway.
You know, Dave Johnson is the gayest person to ever walk this green earth.
Dave Johnson taking one for the team. At the last minute, before the clock struck midnight, he swooped in with a $175 tip to round us out to $5,200 for the month. You guys are incredible. This means two things. First of all, someone is going to be getting a free 1-year subscription at the peasant tier in the King Pill Discord. That is, I will be doing a drawing for that. And I told you guys I would have it here today, but I was too busy with other stuff that went long, and I will have to get that to you guys tomorrow. So tomorrow I will drop the link that you can go to where you can enter in your email address. As long as you are not currently a member of the King Pill Discord, go into your email address there, and then I will do the drawing on Saturday. Saturday for the Saturday just before the Suda Wave, which that one is going to happen early because there is a Seahawks game happening later in the day that I would like to watch. So that one I'm gonna be really forced, really crammed into making sure that one is early. But that's where I will announce before we start the Suda Wave. I will announce the winner of one more winner of 1 year, entrance into the King Pilled Discord. So you too can come fall asleep in the voice chat. Thank you to Dave Johnson. You are a patriot, sir. We love you very much. Also, thank you to Hail Victory for resubscribing over on Kick. And Screwed Up Nevsky gifted a sub to Lurch. Couple of patriots there. Also, Pale Morning Dude has sent in some kicks. Thank you, guys. Appreciate all of your support of the show here. As always, I am streaming on. As always, now I am streaming on Kick and on X and on Rumble. So if you're one of the small handful of people watching live on Rumble, then do me a favor. Just drop something in the chat there. Looks like there's only 2, and I think one of those is me right now. So if you're the other person watching, say something in the chat. Identify yourself. I want to make sure that that this is connected, and I'm also curious to see what sort of engagement can build over on Rumble. Kick will always be the home base, but I'm curious to see what sort of stuff will happen and kind of explore the dynamics of Rumble as a platform. There's sort of like a meta thing that happens here when you're doing this creator thing. If you want to, you can also, you have like the substance of the show itself, whatever the content is that you're talking about and discussing regularly, and then you have the dynamic of the platform and figuring out how to work and navigate within the platform to for the best workflow and what amplifies you the most and all that sort of thing. So I like to track such things. So do me a favor, throw something in the live chat. Also, it helps you know that I do have everything set up so that if people are chatting over there, I can at least have a chance of seeing it. I'll only see if it shows up on the screen over here, or I happen to think of looking up and seeing there. But for the time being, Kick is where it's at. Silly Beaner!
GM Orion.
Good morning, Aryan, is what that actually said there. That's like Orin with a Y. Thank you, Silly Beaner, for the $5. Good morning. Good morning to you as well. Okay, so today, let's see, what are we going to talk about? Okay, Doomer. Yes, okay, Doomer. This is something that I think we're going to start doing this. This is going to be a thing now. When you see someone that is compulsively dooming on the timeline, okay, Doomer. That's all you got to do. Emperor Trady says there are 2 King Pilled accounts on Rumble. I subbed to both. Yeah, so this is what's weird about Rumble is there is my personal profile and then there is my channel. And you can subscribe to both and I can post to both. Which seems needlessly confusing. But yeah, so one of them you'll see is the channel and one of them is the person. So you can subscribe to me if you want. But then make sure you subscribe to the channel. I don't know why. I don't understand why this is a thing, but maybe I'll figure it out eventually. The other thing I was going to do was just drop in the tips link in here real quick. Tip link. The one that comes through with the bot, I need to fix that because it'll still work. You can use that one, the Streamlabs /2 or something along those lines. But it is part of the Streamlabs automation, and I've got to go in and I've got to fumble around with some code to figure out how to change that. Okay, so okay, Doomer. Okay, Doomer is the dismissive response that is required. So I've got some really good commentary on that from some of our guys, as well as it wouldn't be a lab if there wasn't some new fantastic information coming out of the Trump administration, particularly with regard to immigration policy. So I've got a bunch of stuff with respect to that, and then stuff about ICE recruitment. ICE has a $100 million wartime recruitment push. This is from the Washington Post. We'll talk about that. And what was the other things I had in here? I can't quite remember. Oh yeah, so I got a great thread of stuff on accelerationist retardation from Kaiser Lohengrin, and John Doyle makes an appearance. A few other guys. We got some Kino propaganda coming out of the Trump administration. We'll get to that. And I've got a great article here written by one of the OGC guys from the Nathaniel Green Society. He wrote this back in November. This is J.H. Rhodes. It's called And Yet, Toward an American Freikorps, I believe is how you would pronounce it. Freikorps. I don't know if you pronounce the S if you're in German, if it's Freikorps or if it's like Freikorps. Yeah, towards an American Freikorps. I'm going to say that unless somebody corrects me. And it's very, very good. I got a couple things about the Minnesota fraud situation and how the administration is responding to that. Then we got something from an All In podcast host. The term patronage is getting more and more use, very interestingly. And then we will wrap it up with an appearance by the great boomer grandma, Susan Kokinda, on Promethean Action, talking about how a British lord was caught on the record admitting that Trump's national security strategy has the empire on the ropes. And if you guys watched the last Labe, I think it was on the last one, I said that I made a prediction. This is my prediction for 2025, that City of London is going to be a household name by the end of the year. Now we're going to have to, I'm sure, at some point, we're going to have to just define what household name means, because some people are going to say, oh, well, I know this normie guy and he's never heard about it, so therefore it's not a household name. Okay, sure, well, maybe we can cross that bridge when we come to it. But I do believe that City of London is going to, the concept, the name City of London is going to break into the popular consciousness. We're going to be hearing it on major cable channels. It's going to be like a major narrative thread that is kind of running along here. So I got some stuff on all that. Should be a good one. Steve Banyan over on Rumble says, live on this end, behind kick about 30 seconds to 1 minute. Oh, okay, that's good to know. Please give me all of these sorts of observations that you can. It seemed to me that kick is, I've noticed that if I don't, it tends to pause or do something if I don't have the window live. So I don't know if that means that it won't play in the background or something, but I've noticed it gets further and further behind as the day goes, as I go through the stream. So kick, this is one of the fantastic things about kick, is that it is always like maybe max like 5 seconds behind, but it's often, I can sit here and I can see, I've got the stream pulled up on here and I've got the live feed on OBS and I can see how far apart they are. So like if I throw up these, then there we go. I just saw it over there. That's about how long it takes. So what's that, like 3 seconds, 4 seconds? This is one of the great things about kick. Now it does occasionally, I've noticed, for your information, I suppose, I've noticed that it does occasionally seem to like hang up on here and it just kind of like loading bar thing for a minute and then it keeps playing. Every time it does that, it falls a little further behind. If you're getting those sort of little glitchy moments every hour and a half or so, then just try closing the app and reopening it right away. And I found that catches you right back up. So it'll start playing again. You can keep listening, but just be aware that each time it does that, you're falling a little bit further behind the live. It's like long distance landline calls. Yeah. So yeah, that is the story with kick. What was I saying? Yeah, I don't remember. Oh yeah, City of London. So end of the by the end of the year, we're gonna have City of London be a household name. All right, let's get this show on the road. First of all, I got to give out huge shout out. This is some bold posting. I like to see this. I like to see people taking chances with their posting. Cleverly, very cleverly taking chances. Silly Beaner.
I love King Pill. I leer so much.
Yeah, this is the real leering center over here. This is where you want to be. Listening to Kang Pilled. Come be a Labian. Come labia with us. Labianate? Come watch the Astrolabe on Kick. 5 days a week. Thank you, Silly Beaner. So yeah, someone who really takes a chance with one, I gotta respect that. You know, this is a controversial one. There's a lot of people that I like who are like, this is fantastic, incredible posting. Please, sir, don't delete this. This is masterful. This one's going in the archive. And then there's a lot of people who I like and respect who are like, fuck this guy. We need to hunt him down and kill him and burn his entire internet persona with great prejudice. And okay, sure, fair. I understand why this might hit you the wrong way. Scott Hughes, college basketball reporter. I think I don't know if he's a real college basketball reporter or if he's sort of like a parody account or if he kind of does both. He said there is a sniper on campus at Utah Valley University. UCF transfer Tyler Hendricks is shooting 50.7% from beyond the arc this season for the Wolverines. Utah Valley takes on Tarleton State tomorrow night. Holy shnikes, bro. That is I'm really glad that I wasn't the first person to I didn't come up with that myself, because I would have had a long several moments of agony trying to decide, do I actually hit post on this one? Because I can understand why this might be a little raw for some people. But I also, I like gallows humor. I've always gotten a kick out of it. So if you're going to look at this and you're going to say, oh, this is misleading, someone might actually believe, they can literally read the next fucking sentence. Like, nobody's going to be harmed because they read this. It's literally just like you might get your feelings hurt. And yeah, maybe it's okay to get your feelings hurt about this. If you had a student or you had a child who was there for that, or if you knew Charlie personally, I can understand why this might rub some people the wrong way. But holy shit, man! When I saw this is my reaction. One of my favorite reaction gifs, because I was quite literally me when I saw it. David Stern, that old Jew. Well played to Scott Hughes. It's 10.9 million views. How many did I get? 250,000 impressions. Yeah. Bro, delete your account. Legendary. You're a sicko. I love sarcasm and humor, but this is not it. Sincerely, a mom who answered a panicked call from her son, who was running in a crowd of thousands from a sniper on the campus of UVU 112 days ago. Okay, I mean, if I was that woman, I can understand why she would be upset about this. But hopefully she also has someone in her life who could say, yeah, you can't get too mad at the internet. Sometimes the internet is going to do stuff and it might be upsetting, but you kind of just got to let it go. A sniper that has only a 50% kill rate is a failure. All this for an $8 check, bro? You're saying that not only could I have a banger, but I could have a banger that also pays me? If you pay me 50 cents, that's even like, it's all gold. I would have just done it to have the banger, to have the internet street cred. If you're going to pay me for that as well, sure. $8, great, sounds good. This one was also on the college sports subject. Reese Davis here. We've got a little bit of college football coverage, and he has this first clip, January 1, 2026. This is from today. And then they're going to compare it to one from January 1, 2024, 2 years ago. Watch and listen.
You got to know your protection, you got to know your intent, you got to know your mechanics, and you got to know your problems. It's an easy acronym to remember, just P-I-M, problems. Oh. Acronyms can be dangerous. Oh, wait. We learn the rules every now and then. There you go. But just in case there are any naysayers about either Fernando Mendoza or Ty Simpson, Jalen Milroe often wears his own branded apparel reading LANK across the front. It's an acronym that stands for Let a Naysayer Know. Being told by his former offensive coordinator, Bill O'Brien.
That is not what I thought.
Is that not what you thought?
Boy, let a naysayer know.
Let a naysayer know.
Of course.
Professional's right in the middle of his lead. That's all right. I just keep going.
You almost lost me.
The N-word.
It got real tight up here as you were. I just want to let you know.
Reese, you were too smooth with that. I thought it was going down. I thought it was going down.
You got to know your protection. You got to know.
That is some fantastic FanDuel American content right there. The white dudes are uncomfortable. The black dudes are crying, laughing. Yeah. Yeah. And shout out to Reese Davis. You've got this just very extremely professional, just like was born to be a broadcaster of some kind. He was made in a lab somewhere, and the man knows exactly what he's doing. He's not a robot. Look at this from, I don't know how you say this guy's name, Amiri King. I remember following this guy on Facebook like 20 years ago. So it's weird. He's one of the few who like built up a huge audience with running a meme page on Facebook, and then managed to transition that almost completely, as far as I'm aware, almost completely over to X. If he's running a huge page on X and on Facebook at the same time, this motherfucker is busy. But he's very much in the, if you don't know who he is, he's very much in the, what do you call it? It's kind of like FanDuel American adjacent, sort of military bro, pretty normy, but like edgy normie toward, you know, military, pot smoking, sort of libertarian-ish, edgy bro kind of stuff. Wasn't he a gay prawn? Was he? Okay. Far enough down the rabbit hole. He does not matter. He does not matter that much to me. I don't need to know more. Immediately, I'm wiping the last 30 seconds of my life out. Rewinding back, and this is this is a wife jack submission. The whitest argument you'll ever see in your life. I had to watch this a couple times to catch the first part of what was happening here. So he's out on ice riding this motorcycle, and he's going past a little fishing hut, and this guy's walking out from the fishing hut and flagging him down. So now he's circling around and going back.
Hello.
You think the motorcycles are bringing the fish in?
What's that?
You think the motorcycles are bringing the fish in?
Oh, you want me to fuck off?
Would you?
Yep.
Look how fucking cool those are. How long are those? Like quarter inch or what?
Yep. Yeah, sorry man, I'll get away from you, dude.
No, it's all good, brother. I look, I think it's fucking cool.
Cool. All right.
20 pounds? What, 30 pounds in there?
Yeah.
Not even.
Yeah, I run stiff. 32.
Yeah, it don't bring fish in.
All right.
Not just one of the whitest arguments, one of the whitest interactions that you'll ever see. No punches thrown, no screaming, no glocks, just, need me to fuck off? Yes, I do. Have a nice day. Take care. But also, the guy's like, yeah, would you fuck off? Also, let's talk about the PSI in your tires. Like, what are you running at? Give me the breakdown, man. Let me know what your setup is. But also, fuck off and quit scaring my fish away. This is white. This is a white person society. This is white people. Specifically, this is extremely either this. I guess this could be like Minnesota or something like that, but there's almost certainly Canada. These are the guys that I went to high school with. This was the world that when I went to high school in Canada, I was around these guys. A lot of Americans don't necessarily see this brand of Canadian, but this is a brand of Canadian that is, they're like northern rednecks, kind of northern Appalachia. They're almost the same like cultural type. They maybe have different little aesthetic differences or something like that, but very similar view of the world. Just down home, in the dirt, country people that can fix anything and do anything, and they're used to living in a fucking snowstorm and being able to just fend for yourself when you can't go into town. You know, the biggest town is 2 or 3 hours away, and so you go in, you do big supply trips, and you bring them back home. And, you know, if there's some big storm or something like that, you better have all the tools and equipment and know-how and social network around you to be able to navigate through it if you need to, because it's not like you can just call emergency services or something. That's the type of people that they have up there. They are an extremely sturdy, hardy people. But they're ruled by an extremely effete, totally cucked, like worst combination of white people traits in one person, one type of person possible. Just the worst people. The Canadian elites are so bad. And like they're like the main sort of normie culture. The normies kind of orbit around the elites and try to mimic all their affectations and everything. This type of Canadian needs rescuing. We must liberate them. There's the same sort of people in Australia. We must liberate them as well. And you know what? Let's just fucking liberate the UK. Because you got a similar category. You can find this sort of person in the UK as well. It maybe be a little different, but same sort of guy, just a person of the earth. And I say that as fully complimentary. We just gotta liberate all of them. That's all we're going to do. We're just going to overthrow the British Empire and liberate our countrymen and then live in peace and harmony. Got some good news. We're well on the way. Look at this. We've been reliably informed that everything is bad and getting worse, and it's super desperate, and nothing can be done, and you aren't going to vote your way out of this, and it's just time to like dive into a foxhole and start shooting. And yet, in 2025, we had the lowest rate of mass shootings since 2006, the lowest rate of homicides since 1950s, lowest teenage pregnancy in recorded history, lowest suicide since 2020, lowest road fatalities since 2019, lowest drug overdose deaths since 2019, lowest alcohol consumption in recorded history, which is kind of an interesting inclusion there, and lowest inflation since 2020. That's in a single year. That's in a single year, with probably at least half of it being spent with not only no momentum, but actively pressing against major headwinds. So what happens if this project starts to pick up steam? What happens if it starts to gain momentum against those headwinds? What happens when some of those headwinds start to become tailwinds? We may have very, very gradually, slowly gotten ourselves to this point, but that doesn't mean that there can't be substantial progress made back in the opposite direction that can begin self-reinforcing. And we're already seeing a manifestation of that. The only way this would have carried throughout an entire year was because there was self-reinforcing patterns within it that were carrying it. They were giving it the momentum to last an entire year. Now, how can we make it last 2 years and build on it? How can we do more? Let's maintain the gains that we've gotten so far, and let's add to them. If we can lock in those gains and add to them, then next year we'll lock in those gains and then add to them. And the more gains you get, the more gains you will start to get. They become gains or self-reinforcing. This is tremendous. This is well ahead of schedule from what I expected. I had moderated my expectations for sure. I was like, there's like the absolute best possible case scenario, but I'm not going to assume that's going to happen. I'm going to moderate pretty substantially. And this is well ahead of where I expected we would be. Even just to, if in 1 year we could undo, like, I don't know, there's no way to quantify this, 50 or 75% of what was done since COVID. There we go. So lowest suicide since 2020. So since COVID, suicide rates spiked. Now they're back down again. So there's something that potentially has been undone since COVID. Road fatalities and drug overdose deaths. Very similar. There's a lot of overlap there. So road fatalities has been on the rise because of all the millions of people who were imported, along with a bunch of other factors. And then drug overdose deaths is very close to suicides. So if we're unwinding the downstream effects of COVID, well, how many different fronts can we unwind things on then? How can we get back to pre-COVID? How long does it take us to get back to pre-COVID? I mean, like, our mentality shouldn't be we need to go back to how things were before, but I'm talking in terms of unwinding the negative effects of certain things. So if it's the price of the housing market, or if it's, rates like this, that the rates can climb. Well, saying, I want this rate that climbs to go back down again isn't the same as saying we need to go back to 1995. We need to pick whatever year had the lowest homicide record on rate, and let's go to that in terms of homicide record. Sledmook says Americans have seen Black Hawk Down. Not hard to be against Somalis. Good entry level for... You guys are jamming here. I couldn't even finish it. Good entry level for wanting others removed from the U.S. Well, speaking of removing others from the U.S., we have this from the Washington Post. Exclusive. ICE officials plan to spend $100 million to recruit gun rights supporters and military enthusiasts through online influencers and a geo-targeted ad campaign, part of what the agency called a wartime recruitment strategy to hire thousands of officers, according to an internal document. We are getting a $100 million ad campaign from the organizations behind the social media campaigns we've seen thus far. We're getting a $100 million ad campaign to recruit people to go deport people. So there's no reason to think, I mean, I could have the argument with you that the numbers that they actually accomplished were actually a massive, substantial win. Way ahead of what should have been considered possible. Like at the one of the farthest reaches of what was within the range of possibility. But there's zero reason to think that, okay, we did something for 1 year, and what indicator do you have, apart from your own bad attitude, that this is not going to pick up and accelerate and increase? There's a whole bunch of different reasons. As of today, the remittance tax now kicks in. So now, any money that is being sent back out of the country is having a, 1.5% or 1% skimmed off of it? Well, that's a dissuader. And we've now gone from 0 to 1. Where all we have to do is just move it up. We don't have to introduce it anymore. It's already been introduced, so now we're just arguing about what the rate should be. It can be dialed up. There's so many reasons to expect for things to continue to get better beyond where they already are, which is very, very good. Look at this freaking Keno. What if I would have told you that the DHS account would be posting shit like this? Like, this is the tone that they're setting. This is the position of the federal government. And it's not like you had some like rogue admin that was in there and was doing stuff that was pushing the envelope, and then they were like, okay, you need to knock it off. Get that guy out of here, get her in here, have her run it. No, they've been going for the entire year, and they're just upping it. They're continually doubling down on this. Now, let's read this article from the Washington Post. A strategy document shared among immigration officials details plans to use influencers and geo-targeted ads to supercharge their push to hire thousands of deportation officers nationwide. You know what this reminds me of? This whole... Well, let me read this and I'll tell you what it reminds me of. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials are planning to spend $100 million over a 1-year period to recruit gun rights supporters and military enthusiasts through online influencers and a geo-targeted advertising campaign, part of what the agency called a wartime recruitment strategy it said was critical to hiring thousands of new deportation officers nationwide, according to an internal document reviewed by the Washington Post. If they just do this the ordinary way, like they go through some advertising agency or something, and it just kind of gets the point across and maybe pushes the envelope a little bit, like, great, fantastic, wonderful, excellent. But what if they just cut the agency out? What if the White House reached out directly to fucking, I don't know, Sean Ryan or Tucker Carlson or pick your influencer and was like, we're going to pay you to advertise on your podcast. This is direct patronage from the White House to the targeted group of people who are within the demographic of those who are going to support the idea of deporting people. Now, again, they may just do the like kind of standard industry thing of like you go to the talent agency and you negotiate through the talent agency, and that may be a necessity of it. It may not be possible. There may be too many like ethics issues or something of like writing a check directly to someone, or or you just go if you're writing a check to their LLC, then like maybe they just kind of bypass that and they just do the traditional model, go through the agency. Even that is good. It would be even more incredible if they actually can go directly to them. This would be the federal government directly funding our guys to produce our guys' propaganda. Do you see how fucking big this is? Even just as a precedent setter. The spending would help President Donald Trump's mass deportation agenda dominate media networks and recruitment channels, including through ads targeting people who have attended UFC fights, listened to patriotic podcasts, or shown an interest in guns and tactical gear, according to a 30-page document distributed among officials this summer detailing ICE's surge hiring marketing strategy. The Department of Homeland Security has spoken publicly about its fast-tracked effort to significantly increase ICE's workforce by hiring more than 10,000 new employees, a surge promoted on social media with calls for recruits willing to perform their sacred duty and defend the homeland by repelling foreign invaders. The agency currently employs more than 20,000 people, according to ICE's website, but the document, reported here for the first time, reveals new details about the vast scale of the recruitment effort and its unconventional strategy to flood the market with millions of dollars in spending for Snapchat ads, influencers and live streamers on Rumble, a video platform popular with conservatives. Under the strategy, ICE would also use an ad industry technique known as geofencing to send ads to the phone web browsers and social media feeds of anyone who set foot near military bases, NASCAR races, college campuses, or gun and trade shows. Now, there's another element here. So, if this is spending for Snapchat ads or geofencing to target phone web browsers and social media feeds, this is, in whether directly or indirectly, this is money going from the federal government to Google and Facebook and fucking whoever owns Snapchat. Does Snapchat own themselves? I assume it's probably private equity or something. Did Snapchat IPO? I can't remember. Anyways, so sure, maybe that is the case. All right, so now recalibrate your expectations. What do we have here? We have funding going to, there's already lots of funding. There's already lots of government money going to Google and Facebook and et cetera, et cetera. There's already lots of that. What we're now getting is we're getting the funding that is going to them is sponsoring, ensuring that they are pushing advertisements into the feed of someone to recruit them to go work for ICE. More of our propaganda being funneled through those companies. So sure, those companies are continuing to get money, but now they're getting money to advertise for us. What this reminds me of is, do you remember when I read that article about Chris Buskirk, who created this organization starting in around 2019 to try to figure out how do we promote aristocratic behavior by these elites, and how do we create an organizing principle for disaffected Trump-supporting elites? So people who are disaffected from the mainstream, who have decided we're veering out and we're going to start supporting Trump now. How do we organize them? And then also, how do we organize the people on the ground, and how do we connect them? And he had that early meeting with Peter Thiel, J.D. Vance, Tucker Carlson. I can't remember who else was there. Oh, that's another thing with Rumble. If they're running advertising, they're basically sending money into Rumble's coffers somehow. That's also connected to J.D. Vance. And here's where I'm saying, there's going to be some surface area here to file court cases on an ethical basis and that sort of thing. Because now you have the federal government sending money. I'm sure this is going to be an attack vector. You have the federal government through ICE sending money through Rumble, which is enriching effectively J.D. Vance. So I'm sure we're going to hear a lot about this. If we don't, then oh man, that's amazing. We can get away with even more than I thought. But this whole geofencing thing, this is exactly what that profile of Chris Buskirk that I read, this is exactly what they were talking about doing. This is how they were working to get Trump elected in 2024. Doing this sort of, let's figure out the sort of people who have overlap with MAGA, broadly speaking, who have America First, but let's target their interests, meet them where they're at, whether it's gun ownership or outdoorsmen or, whatever the vector is. You got these different profiles. So for the 2A crowd, you've got the 2A crowd that's very motivated from a policy standpoint. And then you've got the 2A crowd that is pro 2A because they're outdoorsmen. And they don't really care about all the politics and everything. I just want to, I live on a farm and I want to have my guns and I like to go shooting and that's their focus. They're kind of apolitical. Well, targeting them, those are low propensity voters. If you can target them and mobilize them to vote, You're introducing new people into the sample. And those sorts of low propensity voters are much more likely to be Trump voters than anything else. Those are the sorts of voters that have to be sought out. This is what that article about Chris Buskard, this is what they were talking about them doing. Now we have ICE looking at advertising for their own, for new ICE agents using those same methods. So yeah, military bases, NASCAR races, college campuses, gun and trade shows. The document was also distributed among ICE officials in the days after the agency published a request for bids seeking contractors who could use, quote, precise audience targeting, performance media management, and results-driven creative strategies to, quote, accelerate the achievement of its recruiting goals. The language in the published bid closely mirrored language in the strategy document. That same month, DHS awarded 2 marketing firms nearly $40 million to support the ICE Public Affairs Office recruitment campaign, according to federal awards data. It's unclear how much of the spending and strategy have been carried out, but the plans outlined in the document have coincided with a rush of recruitment ads online seeking Americans who will, quote, answer the call to serve. The rapid recruitment approach is unlike anything ICE has ever pursued, said Sarah Saldana, director of ICE during the Obama administration, who recalled the agency filling its open positions through local police departments and sheriff's offices with appeals to officers' interests in federal public safety work. So this is how they were recruiting for ICE before. They were going through local police departments and sheriff's offices with appeals to officers' interests in federal public safety work. Do you want to be a federal public safety officer? You current existing law enforcement officer, do you want to become a different type of law enforcement officer? She said she worries that the speed with which ICE is racing to bring on new hires, coupled with the ad campaign's framing of the jobs as part of a war, will raise the risk that the agency could attract untrained recruits eager for all-out combat. The appeal to law enforcement should not be, quote, the quicker we get out there and run over people, the better off this country will be, she said. That mentality you're fostering tends to inculcate in people a certain aggressiveness that may not be necessary in 85% of what you do. ICE deferred comment to Tricia McLaughlin, a DHS spokeswoman, who did not dispute a detailed list of claims and financial figures sent by the Post and said she was, quote, thrilled to see the Washington Post highlight the wildly successful ICE recruitment campaign, which is under budget and ahead of schedule. The agency, she said, has received more than 220,000 job applications in 5 months and has issued more than 18,000 tentative job offers. More than 85% of the new hires had experience in law enforcement, she added. So it looks like they are overwhelmingly prioritizing people who do have experience in law enforcement, but they're not doing it exclusively and they're expanding out a lot more. Because there also could be people who have experience in law enforcement, but they're not working in law enforcement. So if you go to a sheriff's office or a local police department, you're not gonna run into them. Congress this summer tripled ICE's enforcement and deportation budget to about $30 billion by passing the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, helping to start a hiring spree that officials have said would be necessary to carry out the Trump administration's promise of the biggest mass deportation in American history. Officials set a goal of 1 million deportations within the first year of Trump's term. And they've got to, official deportations, they got to hold on a second. There was actually a straight out breakdown of this from an appeal to pragmatism. Let me see this real quick. He said 622,000 plus forced deportations, 2 million self-deportations, 95,000 visas revoked, 8 months of 0 successful border crossings, 1.6 plus million legal status protections terminated, 39 countries on the travel ban, a dozen joined to accept extra deportees, 10 cities under federal crackdown, 220 plus miles of border wall construction and enhancement, refugee resettlement, asylum, and green card lottery suspended. A fifth of legal immigration is blocked, and overall legal migration is down 75 to 85% and declining. DEI and the civil rights regime have been frayed, disparate impact policy was ended, anti-white discrimination labeled a crime by the DOJ, major lawsuits are in motion against non-compliant states, English is the official language of the United States. Aliens, legal and illegal, are losing access to American benefits and housing. The State Department has made Western and European identity official policy, and there are 3 more years for us to build on. 2025 word of the year, remigration. So did they get 1 million official forced deportations? Maybe not. But they also got, what was that, 2 million? 2 million self-deportations, revoked 95,000 visas, revoked legal status protections for 1.6 million, 0 border crossings. You know, like, you're telling me that's not a extraordinary accomplishment? That's true. They do have till January 20 as well. So everyone is like hyper obsessed on the forced deportations number. That is a small fraction of the people who are being removed and who need to be removed. The best possible thing would be to just scare the shit out of everyone such that they all just remove themselves and you don't have to remove any of them. We were doing this math in the Kingpole Discord last night. Thinking about like what it would, the actual cost. If you think about the number of man hours that go into the deportation of a single person, you know, it's probably, we were guesstimating each individual person probably has somewhere around maybe 100 total hands, like pairs of hands that touch them at any given point along the process. Investigators, the people who actually do the arresting, transportation, logistics, staffing of holding centers, and judges and lawyers and pilots and all this sort of stuff. I total up all of those people. Each single deportation probably involves something like 100 people. And how many man hours are each of those 100 people dedicating to that person? It might be, it's going to be more for some and it's going to be less for others, but I don't know, say if each person spends maybe 10 hours on it, on average, 6 hours, somewhere in there, whatever. So you're talking about each person being deported requires somewhere in the vicinity of like 600 to 1,000 man hours. Now do that budgeting. How much is each of those man hours worth? What's the average compensation? And you're talking all expenses, fuel, and everything else that goes into all of this. You're talking like probably tens of millions of dollars per, maybe not tens of millions, maybe single digits millions per person to remove them. Or you could pay him $1,000 to go away. And that can happen a lot more quickly. So if you're just strictly counting the actual deportation numbers, we actually want those to be a relatively small portion of the total pie, because those are the most expensive. They prioritize the violent criminals. They prioritize the people with direct traceable connections to cartels or crime or whatever, which is how you're going to triage this if you can't literally just do all of them. To deport 100 million people, we'll get to this in a minute, but to deport 100 million people would require, if you want to deport 100 million people and you want it done in like 10 years, so you want to deport 10 million people a year, you probably need somewhere in the vicinity of like 20 or 30 million people just dedicated to the cause of deporting people. You realize we're talking about like, this is a massive improvement that we're getting 10, 15, 20, 30,000 ICE agents. You would need 20 or 30 million probably just involved in the industry of deportations. That's not going to happen. It's not even possible. You can't build an economy around deporting people. That's what you would have to do. You would have to order the entire economy around financing the cost of deporting people if you wanted to deport 100 million people in 10 years. Now you can dissuade, you could like discourage those people to leave. But even if you're going to say, okay, we're going to start denaturalizing people. Okay, so now you have to dedicate people to all the process that's involved in denaturalizations and ensuring that you can manage whatever lawsuits and stuff may come in with this. And if you're going to denaturalize those people, you're going to have to be prepared to physically remove them from the country, which means you're also going to have to dedicate personnel to the process of physically removing them from the country. I don't think people have really grappled with the magnitude of this. Like on one hand, they say this is the most urgent pressing issue and the entire society is going to fall apart if we don't fix it ASAP. But they don't go beyond that and think about what the actual logistics and cost involved in doing this. When you consider that, the fact that they removed something like on net, maybe 3 to 4 million people from the country for various reasons, while also drastically limiting inflow and laying the groundwork for doing more, while doing everything else, this is like, everyone wants to see this stuff happen immediately, but this isn't a fucking Subway. Like, it isn't like you just walk along and place your order. If you really, really believe it's not moving fast enough, then you need to go do it yourself and recruit as many people as you can into going and participating in the effort yourself. Otherwise, you're just full of shit. Okay, back to this recruitment thing. To bolster its recruiting, the agency has removed its age limits for applicants and offered signing bonuses of up to $50,000. A job listing on a federal hiring board said the salaries for many deportation officers could range from $50,000 to $90,000 a year. Recruitment ads have proliferated across TV, radio, print, and podcasts, directing viewers to an ICE hiring website that portrays immigration as an existential threat. America has been invaded by criminals and predators, reads the website, which includes an image of Uncle Sam. We need you to get them out. If I could go back in time and send this article to you a year ago, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, would have said, this is what the Washington Post is writing about the United States federal government under President Donald Trump in the year, January 1st, 2026. That there are recruitment ads all over the place portraying immigration as an existential threat and saying, America has been invaded by criminals and predators. We need you to get them out. You would have thought this sounded too good to be true. Like it wasn't possible. On social media, administration accounts have mixed immigration raid footage with memes from action movies and video games to portray ICE's mission as a fight against the enemies at the gates. Want to deport illegals with your absolute boys, one post says. Are you going to cowboy up or just lay there and bleed, says another. But to reach ICE's rapid hiring goal of about 14,000 new enforcement and removal operations officers, Homeland Security investigations agents, ICE lawyers, and support staff, the strategy document also calls for deploying more finely targeted digital advertising tools that can home in on viewers' interests and lifestyles. ICE recruitment ads, the plan says, would be shown to people with an interest in military and veterans affairs, physical training, or conservative news and politics, and would target people whose lifestyles are patriotic or conservative leaning. The strategy said to target listeners of conservative The strategy said to target listeners of conservative radio shows, country music, and podcasts related to patriotism, men's interests, and true crime, as well as any accounts that resemble users with an interest in, quote, conservative thought leaders, gun rights organizations, and tactical gear brand, the document said. They're giving you a very clear profile of the type of person they are targeting. Maybe not like exclusively the type of person they're going to hire, but the type of profile that they want to hire. They want to hire conservative military men who know how to shoot. That's who the Trump administration is trying to stuff ICE with. Conservative, military-oriented men who like shooting. Are you connecting the dots here? To further attract recruits, the strategy called for spending at least $8 million on deals with online influencers whose followers are largely Gen Z and millennials and who are in the military families, fitness, and tactical lifestyle enthusiast communities. So they're explicitly trying to hire young people. Young man, your government is trying to hire you. They are trying to pay you to get foreigners out of the country. How is this not the best news anybody has heard in a decade? The federal government is trying to give money to young, conservative, military, gun enthusiast men to deport foreign people. They're desperately trying to meet you where you are. They're offering you signing bonuses. They're offering you a good salary. They're offering you training. They will pay you to teach you how to deport people. Why are you posting on the internet? The document did not name specific influencers, but said it would focus on former agents, veterans, and pro-ICE creators who would be expected to host live streams, attend events, and post short and long-form videos and other content to Facebook, Instagram, Rumble, X, and YouTube. Blogs, Substack newsletters, and Threads accounts would also be targeted for more niche communities, the document said. This is patronage. Your government is offering patronage to its people. The objective, it said, is to build trust through authentic peer-to-peer messaging and to normalize and humanize careers at ICE through storytelling and lived experiences. The document said it expected more than 5,000 applicants would come through the influencer program, costing ICE about $1,500 per application. ICE has run ads on Google, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook targeting the latter to military veterans and entry-level job seekers, according to the company's ad libraries, which share public data on the platform's ad campaigns. Millions more in advertising was slated for delivery to gaming consoles, connected TV devices, and streaming services such as ESPN, Fox News, and Paramount Plus, as well as across newspapers, billboards, and box trucks, the strategy document said. You know what this also means? It means that all of these companies, Google, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, ESPN, Fox News, Paramount Plus, every gaming company, every television company, every single one of these companies is going to be accepting money from the federal government to advertise deportations. This is a substantial bending of the knee by these big companies. No. You're done censoring people, and in fact, you are going to be a vehicle for our propaganda. We'll pay you for it. We're not going to be absurd here. No, you're going to be paid well. You're going to be paid handsomely to send out our political messages. Listeners on Spotify have heard ICE ads calling on recruits to fulfill your mission, leading to hundreds of complaints on the music service's message board. One NASCAR viewer who saw the ads on livestream said in a Reddit post that they changed the channel and separately told the Post that they had, quote, never felt such distaste for our government airing such ads. Natalia Banulescu-Bogdan, a deputy director at the Migration Policy Institute, a nonpartisan Washington think tank, said ICE's ads harked back to World War I recruitment posters by using symbols like Uncle Sam. Look at this frickin'. America needs you. Join ICE now. Defend the homeland. Protect your nation. Join ICE now. The war rhetoric is in line with the Trump administration's broader efforts to push mass deportations as critical to American security, and immigration officials' work is heroic, she said. But the ads also allow ICE to gloss over the, quote, messy realities of immigration enforcement, including, quote, the public backlash, the legal pushback, and the very real operational constraints. Shut up, Longhouse. We don't want to hear it.
Shut up, bitch.
We've never seen immigration agencies kind of strip down the policy debates to this level of raw imagery and symbolism, she added. And I've just got to take a second here to say, all of the people who are talking in terms of, oh, they're being so aggressive. They're riling them up. Meet me where I am.
Our patronage sucks. We have to go out and reconquer our lands. I much prefer the Ericsson model where we get a bunch of our guys and just start deporting people instead of complaining on the internet. I suppose the choice is between privateer and cam girl.
Yes, exactly. There you go. Are you going to be a cam girl or are you going to be a privateer? That is the choice before you, Anon. Don't be a spiritual cam girl like Clavicular. No, you must be a privateer. Your president needs you To all the people who are like, oh, this is just getting them really riled up, and then if they don't follow through, then they're going to be so extra angry at us. This is the fucking gayest shit I have ever heard. No. Don't attack the enemy. Because if you attack the enemy, then the enemy might attack back. If you see people attacking your enemy, join the fuck in. You start attacking them. Your president is attacking your enemy. And you're like, but Mr. President, if you rile them up too much, they might be mean to me. They fucking shot him in the ear. Why don't you attack the enemy? They're giving you every opportunity you can. You want to talk this big game about, oh, this is war, and we need like revolution and like overthrow it, and wait a second, you're attacking the enemy? Ah! You can't attack the enemy, that's uncouth. Are you like a 55-year-old wine-aunt? Apologies to the 55-year-old wine-aunts who may not identify with that. But holy shit! You want to go like watch these great epic movies where the small band of brave warriors rallied together and just went and fucking took the fight to the enemy, and it rallied all their men, and their men came and stormed down the hill together with them because they just needed somebody to do something to hype them up so they didn't sit around henpecking each other all the time. And you've got a fucking pack of men screaming down the hillside, storming the enemy camp. And you're like critiquing their war cries or something. Are you kidding me? I saw someone earlier say that 2026 is the year to get off the internet and do something. Hear, hear. And I fully understand how counterintuitive it sounds to have someone who is actively, professionally doing stuff on the internet all the time say that. But here's the thing. If you're going to be on the internet doing something creative and productive and moving the needle forward. Moving the needle. Moving the ball forward. Parse our metaphors here. I believe that's what I'm doing. There doesn't need to be a million different ones of me. It'd be nice if there was more. But if the time you're going to spend on the internet is going to be spent henpecking from the peanut gallery, then get off the internet and go do something in real life. I'll have some recommendations for you here in just a minute. Getting my stuff out of order. The strategy document features on the cover ICE's second-in-command, Madison Sheehan, who worked as an aide to the Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem when she was governor of South Dakota. In the photo, Sheehan, 28, wears a police vest and an ICE badge under the words, "Defend the Homeland." The document called for spending $100 million within 1 year as part of an aggressive recruitment program that would saturate digital and traditional media and prioritize speed, scale, and conversion at every level. Public ad tracking figures from Google and Meta show ICE's digital ad spending so far as a fraction of the strategy's proposed budget for their platforms. McLaughlin, the DHS spokeswoman, did not respond to questions about how much money had been spent already or whether the strategy had changed. Beyond demographic targeting, the strategy document also identified New York, Los Angeles, Minneapolis, Chicago, and Boston as key locations for finding recruits. The cities have been the targets of intense ICE sweeps and major anti-deportation protests over the last year. And it would probably be really good to get people who are already familiar with the area. Because, speaking the language of the local area is probably going to make you even better. Whether you're investigating or nuances about the city, where people might be holed up, where to find people, all that sort of thing. If you're involved in that, knowing the local area is going to be really good. The largest local recruitment target, seeking up to 1,000 removal officers, is slated for the New Orleans field office. The state of Louisiana has one of the country's biggest immigrant detention populations, second only to Texas, and the New Orleans field office manages all 9 detention facilities in the state. ICE has hosted hiring events around the country, including at a Texas job fair earlier this year, during which a former mixed martial arts fighter told the Post he was eager to, quote, work with these guys that are going to arrest you, slam your face on the pavement, and send you home. But the strategy is also called for boosting recruitment at major gatherings and sporting events, including a booth at the NASCAR Cookout Southern 500 in South Carolina in August, a gym-based recruitment event with influencer-style content at the UFC Fight Night in Las Vegas in November, and a planned sponsorship devoted to patriotism, strength, and grit at the National Finals Rodeo this month in Las Vegas. And if you think that there is a better or different way that they should be doing this, if you're a marketing professional, then you need to be dedicating all of your time to figuring out how you can line yourself up to consult for them. Every single thing that comes to mind, when I suggest that, every single thing that comes to mind that's like, well, no, you wouldn't be able to because of this. Okay, write that down. That's a problem to solve. Oh, but if you did, then it would, okay, write that down. That's a problem to solve. That's the sort of thing that you can get off the internet. You can get off the internet and still be working through the internet, but you're actually doing something beyond just shouting into the void and like participating in whatever the hysteria of the day is. You need to start making the hysteria of the day. DHS did not say whether all the events proposed in the strategy were carried out, but its ads did accompany several of the events on TV. ICE commercial during the UFC event tonight? How gross, one ex-user said in October. ICE also posted a bid in November seeking a firm to identify suitable event locations for recruitment and outreach events. Interesting that we don't get little commentaries on the people who are like, yeah, it's fucking awesome. The recruitment ads run separately from other large-scale DHS campaigns that celebrate Trump's immigration agenda and urge undocumented immigrants to leave the U.S. DHS has awarded more than $200 million in contracts this year to People Who Think and Safe America Media, two marketing firms linked to Republican political consultants, federal contracting records show. Representatives from the firms did not respond to requests for comment. There you go. There's the pulling back the curtain to show you how this works. $200 million in contracts to these organizations, marketing firms, who are linked to Republican political consultants. So if you want to line yourself up into this and have some influence in how it's done, which of this are you going to take on? Are you going to get to know Republican political consultants? Are you going to become a Republican political consultant? Or are you going to start a marketing firm? Are you going to go work for a marketing firm? You're going to consult for a marketing firm that can consult for, like, there's so many different ways that you could plug yourself into this. And that's just this example. Those efforts, too, have relied on ad targeting techniques more commonly used by corporate marketing campaigns. The ad library from Meta, which runs Facebook and Instagram, shows that DHS has spent more than $1 million on self-deportation ads in the last 90 days targeted to people interested in, quote, Latin music, Spanish as a second language, and Mexican cuisine. They're targeting self-deportation ads to people interested in Latin music and Spanish as a second language and Mexican cuisine. On a message board for the music streaming service Pandora, some users were furious about the ads they called fear-mongering propaganda. So more people who are unhappy about this. This is good. One user who said she is a U.S. citizen who likes listening to reggaeton said she had been overwhelmed by DHS commercials, quote, implying I am an undocumented immigrant and instructing me to go home, that played in nearly every other ad slot I hear. We are inundating shit libs with self-deportation propaganda, and they're crying about it. Your response to this should not be, oh, but think of the sensibilities of the shit lib. ICE ads have drawn criticism from some Democrats. Some of the platforms on which the ads have run have expressed their own reservations. Let's see here. Americus Reed, what a name. A marketing professor at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School, my president's alma mater, I believe, said the ICE strategy reminded him of the Army of One campaign that the military once used to build up recruits as mighty warfighters critical to safeguarding the American way of life. Quote, they're aiming for that sweet spot of people who've got something to prove, who want to have that power under the guise of patriotism. Yes, that is exactly who I want responsible for deporting people from my country. Now look at this. Jared Taylor posted this. Uncle Jared. New York Times dweeb interviews people at an ICE recruitment fair. He just can't make them look bad.
A recruitment fair for ICE. I want to talk to folks and see who wants to be a deportation officer and why.
I'm a college student, recently graduated.
A former flight attendant.
I did 8 years in the Marine Corps.
Doors haven't even opened yet, and already there's a line of more than 100 people waiting to get in. ICE saw this event advertised on ICE's social media account. The benefits they're offering are pretty extensive. There's an up to $50,000 signing bonus, $60,000 in student debt reduction, up to 25% overtime rate. The Trump administration is adding tens of billions of dollars to the budget and is trying to make immigration enforcement really the center of law enforcement in this country right now.
What was that? What did he say?
Is adding debt reduction, up to 25% overtime rate. The Trump
right here.
Administration is adding tens of billions of dollars to the budget and is trying to make immigration enforcement really the center of law enforcement in this country right now.
The Trump administration is trying to make immigration enforcement the center of law enforcement in the country right now. Remember how we've talked about how, like, the libs know what time it is much more than the fucking doomers?
This is the Esports Stadium in Arlington, Texas. It's usually a space for gamers. Today, ICE is hiring for a variety of different positions. The lines have been the longest for deportation officers. That has the lowest bar to entry. College degree is not necessarily required, and ICE is trying to hire 10,000 deportation officers. The signage behind me says, "Defend the homeland." What were the attractions of working for ICE?
I'm very patriotic.
You know, guarding America, guarding the homeland.
When I saw Uncle Sam pointing that finger, I just had it in my heart. And you're thinking, look at this guy. He's an immigrant. He wants to become a deportation officer. Doesn't make any sense to you. Makes 100% sense to me.
Oh, yeah, I can understand that. And you know what? I don't want to hear a single thing, not one fucking peep from someone about what types of people they're hiring if you haven't filled out a fucking application. If you haven't filled out an application, zip your fucking lip. I want fucking warm bodies deporting people. I don't care. I do not care one whit what sort of race or gender or marital status or what. Literally dedicate as many human beings as possible to the cause of deportation. You cannot tell me that you're very concerned they're not deporting enough, but also they need to be really picky and they can only hire just white guys. Especially if you're a white guy who's not fucking applying.
We're seeing a bit of the speed and scale that the Trump administration is trying to move at. They're moving people in and out assembly line style. They're offering drug testing on site, and they're even saying that you could walk out of here with a tentative offer letter to start a new job at ICE.
I was able to get an offer today. I accepted, and then I went and did all my process, my fingerprinting and my drug testing. Background check is next, and then, of course, training.
There's a lot of criticism of ICE and its tactics in enforcing immigration law.
A lot. There's a lot of criticism. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 people visible on screen here.
A lot of criticism of ICE and its tactics in enforcing immigration law. You can hear the protesters behind me shouting at applicants as they walk in, calling them Nazis and fascists, and even identifying them by name.
What?
They're looking up people's license plate numbers.
They're looking up people's license plate numbers to identify them by name? Well, that's a fascinating hobby for some random boomer protesters to have. Interesting. I wonder how they're doing that.
So are you worried about being called a Nazi?
You know, I don't mind risking my freedom to safeguard yours.
ICE has become kind of a really polar.
Remember I read that thing about there's what was it, Izzat and Chalaki, You're seeing it really clearly right there. And here's the thing. When you learn that, when you learn those things exist, you can hack those very, very easily. Indian people and Somalis should be extremely easy for a moderately competent person to hack, to do whatever you want them to do. Skrudim Nevsky said we could deport that. We could deport ICE later. Yes, that's right. You hire the people, use them for the deportations, and as you scale up the notion of as you begin constraining more and more the people who are eligible to not be deported, eventually you just start deporting the ICE officers themselves. Kemo Aquatica says it's weird that they're highlighting non-whites and a woman applying to ICE completely subverts their own narrative. And here's the thing. I think the reason they're doing that is because they're trying to demoralize with it. They've got profiles on us. No, I'm not saying me, like us individually. They've got profiles on the loudest, rowdiest part of Trump's base. And they know full well that if they go portray a bunch of nons and women applying for ICE, ignoring the rest of them. Like, who knows how many, there's 10,000 new ones being hired. How many of them are nons or women? I don't know. We got like 4 of them presented to us here. But they're going to highlight them because they're trying to demoralize. They are willing to betray their own narrative to try to demoralize you.
Rising agency.
Is this a father and son? You can't hide together.
It reflects the big divides within America. It's a flashpoint for how people feel about Trump's mass deportation agenda.
It's so good that they tie those two together. A father and a son applying together to work for ICE, while he says it highlights the big divides. You could also tell the story as, wow, look at this father and son having this common thing that they're going to do together. They're going to work together. It's a family hobby. ICE is pro-family. It's a family organization, right? Niles Pritchard says if they're willing to deport people for us, they could stay. Yeah, this has been a very, very age-old thing that military service can get you citizenship. So military service, when that was a thing, was not like filling the copier with ink. It was much more than that. But if you want to say like 10 years in the infantry or something like that, and then you get citizenship, yeah, okay, sure. I probably would prefer that not be a thing, but I'm also not going to say this is the end of the world and the whole world has to stop before, so we can solve this problem. Eastwood, get your shit-kicking boots on. Yeah! The Border Patrol Academy, given new funding under Trump, has added new vehicle pursuit training, as well as new firearm tactics and equipment. They're setting records with recruitment. 2026 is going to be an amazing year for taking back our country. Look at this. There's some decent little nuggets in this one.
Were granted rare access inside the U.S. Border Patrol Academy, where under President Donald Trump, the curriculum has changed.
This is the fastest I've ever seen government move.
One of the biggest changes, a new pursuit policy.
The fastest I've ever seen government move. It's almost like they've made this a real priority. Because they're not just trying to do some token thing. No, they're trying to actually instill a culture of deportations that's extraordinarily well-funded and very highly prioritized.
Our last pursuit policy, we would let them go. So they knew that the Border Patrol would not pursue them.
Execute. That's no longer the case.
Oh, feel that. Oh, yeah.
The little faggot can't even help himself.
Oh, feel that. Oh, yeah.
He's having fun.
They're also rolling out new firearms technology for better aim.
The new implementation is the MRDS, which is a miniature red dot sight.
Is it a game changer, though, for you?
100%.
Really?
Yes.
What do you guys got going on this afternoon?
Look at these
Many
boys.
of the changes.
Really?
Yes.
What do you guys got going on this afternoon?
Look at this is fucking corn-fed.
Many of the changes paid for, they say, by President Trump's Big Beautiful Bill, which also allocates funding for 3,000 new Border Patrol agents, on top of the more than 19,000 already on the job.
Look at him. Woke Row this year to about 1,800 students at any given time here.
And that's going to be a record high.
That will be a record high.
Keeping those numbers up
record
requires
high.
a major recruiting push.
We have an incentive right now that if you graduate the academy, you get $10,000.
Customs and Border Protection says applications are up nearly 70% from a year ago.
Up nearly 70%. Yeah, there were some fatties in there. So, keep it up with the PT. I fully endorse the idea that our young fellas can go get themselves in shape by joining Border Patrol and ICE. Now, says I was thinking I'd have to get back in shape to move to ICE. Yeah. There were some hosses. There were some big old boys in there. That looked like the Detroit Lions offensive line or something. Look at this. Look at this. Homeland Security. The peace of a nation no longer besieged by the third world. America after 100 million deportations. After a year, remember I said that they haven't been it's not like they came out and did like a big show, a big blah, 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 whatever, and then just kind of dialed it back or got the smack down. Someone was like, no, you guys are going too far. This is too aggressive. You're a culture of fear, yada, 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 whatever. No. They're not dialing it back at all. The last day of 2025, they post an America after 100 million deportations. I repeat, the DHS account is setting expectations at 100 million deportations. That's what they're shooting for. And the only way that you get now, obviously this is like a little tweak, right? You've all seen the America of 100 million memes. The admin has seen the America of 100 million memes. They also know that the federal government should not be posting at America of 100 million memes. Because I think it was Blauvelt who said he's like a 13th, he replied to my tweet, he said he's like a 13th generation American. And he says when he sees those America of 100 million memes, like he gets a little nervous and starts wondering if he's not going to be welcome just because he has brown eyes. You got to be able to, you can't get so autistic that you actually think that an America of 100 million is attainable, much less desirable. An America of 100 million is not desirable. I mean, if we got to 100 million very, very gradually over the course of several decades, because, I don't know, a huge number of people went to Mars or something like that. Okay, maybe. But you can't be like lots of people having babies and also we're going to be at America of 100 million. Like these things, it's not going to happen. It's great for the memes. It's great for like setting the tone, kind of. But I already gave you the logistics for trying to deport 100 million people in 10 years. So triple those numbers. So if you want 300 million people removed from the country in 50 years, while babies are being had at the same time, you're gonna need a deportation industry with a budget of probably like $20 trillion. And, like, how are you going to do this? Like, your great grandparents moved to America in 1898. Nope. You're out. You're gone. You're never gonna get something like that to work. However, repurposing this for America after 100 million deportations. Now that, yes, 100 million deportations. I'm old enough to remember when the conversation was about like 5 million people need to be deported. That was the numbers that people would say, there's like, maybe 3 to 5 million people that need deported or something along those lines. And then it was like, actually, it's like 10. People are like, 10? You think there's 10 million? Meanwhile, a lot of us were like, you're starting at like 25. And then you start doing a little more math. You're like, no, it's probably more like 50. Actually, no, it's probably more like 100. Like if you're talking removing all of the people who do not have a valid claim to be here. You can argue around the margins all you want about what constitutes a valid claim, but you're definitely in the 75 to 100 million range for sure. Like, those wouldn't be, relatively speaking, those wouldn't be super difficult arguments to have. Whether it's a combination of deporting criminals, like stripping citizenship from different categories of criminals, removing people who are here illegally, removing people who are here technically legally but don't need to be here. They're here because something's being subsidized, and if you remove that, then they'll leave. Like, those categories of people, you're getting it to 75, 100 million pretty easy. But here's the other thing. If you removed 100 million people in a single year, you'd fucking crash the economy. Both because of the expense that it would require and the ripple effects of just zapping that many people out of the circulation of everything that quickly. There's like tons and tons of mom and pops that would get nuked. Some of them deserved it, some of them didn't. And it would be so disruptive to the economy on a broader level that it would actually, it would open up a ton of different attack vectors for like sovereign debt attacks, calling into question the validity of America's debt, that sort of thing. So it would give you a whole bunch of extra friction you'd have to work through as well. So we're going to be deporting people for decades. This is a decades-long project. That's the one possible way that we can get, we need to be maximizing the capacity for deportations at any given moment. And if we do that, we will be establishing a successful deportation effort that will last multiple decades. And if we're lucky, maybe we get it in 10. Maybe that would be like, if we got 100 million out in 10 and there's corresponding stuff to sort out, like, okay, sure. Yeah, great. But making that happen is going to require a hell of a lot of people who are currently doing a whole lot of talking to do a whole lot of doing. So I tweeted this. I quote tweeted this. I said, the DHS account is setting the frame at 100 million deportations. And, yeah, there's Blauvelt. And if you're ever wondering, maybe you're someone who isn't on X all that often or something like that. You're not listening to the podcasts or whatever, for whatever reason. You're just someone who kind of has a limited footprint, but you listen to the Labe and you hear me talk about some of this stuff. If you want to inform yourself, just go scroll through the replies here. There's a bunch of patriots here. Colin Rosh, Delvin, Todd, Tyler, all these guys who I'm, Goy Blaster though. We got Goy Blaster. Thank you, Goy Blaster. I was hoping to get your input. Apparently Goy Blaster really thought that I needed to know what he had to say. And it's surreal. It's really, really surreal to see the all talk, no execution. They're using this marketing to get everyone on lists. Just what we asked for, a dank meme. Cool, at this rate, we might hit those numbers in 150 years. More promises with no action. Bit disappointing throughout the big ask, not the minimum. There's one thing that I've seen a number of people who've said this, and this to me strikes me as like a really good midwit critique. So it's not like the dumb critique that a stupid person makes. The majority of these guys are just unfairly saddled by the burden of literacy, and it would be a mercy to them to like ban their use of technology and force them to do manual labor regularly. It would be good for their character. But then there's this sort of like next tier up, sort of more nuanced response. Oh, the problem is that they're over-promising and under-delivering. They should actually under-promise and over-deliver. Bullshit. Once again, if you've thought about this for longer than like a goldfish memory, you'll realize physically deporting people is the hardest way to go about this. The best way to go about this is to make people feel like they have no choice but to leave. You want as many people to leave voluntarily as possible. How do you do that? You tell them, we're gonna fucking arrest you if you don't leave. Simultaneously, you've also got to get all of these stodgy old faggots on board. You gotta rouse their spirits. Get people bought in. They're literally acting as if this is a war. What do you do in a war? You have war propaganda to rally your people and talk shit to your enemies. You've got an administration that is signaling to you they're going to war, and they're asking you to get on board. And if you're not willing to get on board, I want to see your fucking citizenship revoked. I think you should be denaturalized. You at least should be able to vote. You are the goy cattle. You're the vapid morons. You're the normies. You've taken in all of the breaking slop just like a boomer listening to CNN and believing every single thing they see. And so from now on, it's just, okay, Doomer. Okay, Doomer. Sure. Okay, Doomer. That's all you are. You're an out-of-touch, helplessly normie, low-information, like semi-human. Slutty Muck says Breaking Slop is the new normie cable news propaganda programming for the base dissident types who are now normies. Yes, that is exactly it. So I got some really good commentary so you don't hear it's not just me. I am not just one single voice crying out in the wilderness here. I've got a great takedown. I got to drill down through a bunch of these. So we're going to be reading for a minute here now. So, first of all, we have, geez, I forgot there was this many. Okay. Brian Sauve, I don't know exactly how you pronounce it. I've never heard it said. I've seen him around. Nobody will go to prison over the open Somalian fraud in Minnesota. Nobody will pay any of it back to the taxpayers. Almost nobody will be sent back to Somalia over it. That I'm probably right on all three is why trust in conservatives in government is almost zero. What is the purpose of this tweet? What does this tweet accomplish? If you're someone sending a tweet like this, what is going through your mind that thinks, you know what? People really need to hear these thoughts in my head right now. The thoughts in my head matter so much that I need to make sure they all hear them. To what end? What is this supposed to motivate? Do you think that, like, the administration totally doesn't care about any of this stuff at all, but they were just waiting for Brian here to post this tweet? Actually, I guess, sorry, I don't know what we were thinking. I guess we'll get our act together now. What other purpose does this tweet serve? This is slop. Trust Plan Star says X is people's personal doom diaries that they get paid $50 a month for. Yes, it is a doom diary. Save these posts for your diary. Better yet, don't even think you need to make those kinds of, don't even think those things to make those posts in your diary. By not being an out-of-touch, demoralized normie. Mallard Reborn says, at the beginning of this year, it looked like there was a chance the Republic in some form could be saved. But two things happened. First, almost immediately, the extent of the corruption, treason, and foreign influence in the system was revealed to be orders of magnitude worse than we believed, and new revelations drop weekly. We don't just have advanced cancer, it is metastasized to every organ and limb of the body we examine, and it is hopelessly entwined around the most critical structures of the brain. The government is basically fully configured to immiserate the native population and replace it with aliens. So, Mallard Reborn here is a doctor going to the patient and saying, hey, sorry, it's terminal. I guess you might as well just make your, how can we make you comfortable? You should start saying your goodbyes to people. If there's any last thing you wanted to do, you should get that done. And, and then just kind of lay there and wait to die. That's what this is. 2, despite a flurry of initial moves that looked very promising, the will to take even moderate action to treat the disease has evaporated. On Washington Post, going back here. ICE plans $100 million wartime recruitment push targeting gun shows and military fans for hires. Okay. So, all right. Whoops, getting ahead of myself here. But apparently, the will to take even moderate action to treat the disease has evaporated. The judiciary blocks every executive action, and no one is willing to defy or impeach it. This is fan fiction. This isn't even like, oh, this is like a matter of opinion or something. This is literally just typing fictional things. This could be commentary from someone who has been locked in a box with no contact to the outside world for the past year. The judiciary blocks every executive action. What's the record in the Supreme Court so far? How has the Department of Justice been doing? Do you even know who John Sawyer is? Sawyer? I don't know how you pronounce his name. The guy who's actually making the arguments to the Supreme Court, who has won like 25 out of 26 or something. And that one the one they lost is actually more kind of like the Supreme Court saying, no, actually, you're not going hard enough. You need to take a more aggressive posture. Sauer, okay, yeah. The executive memes and bitches on X, but rarely arrests or prosecutes anyone. When it does that, why is your metric for success arrests and prosecutions? Like, yeah, arrests and prosecutions need to happen. For sure. But like I said with the thing with the fraud, prosecuting the fraud is vastly less important than just stopping it. So there's this thing, it's this like Epstein mentality, where it's like success can only be tracked in arrests. And nobody who's arrested is ever good enough. No one who's prosecuted is ever a big enough name. Which again, this is like with the physical deportations. The arrests and prosecution process is going to be the longest and slowest and least efficient and most protracted and least satisfying part of the entire process. The most expensive. You can't just sit around and just wait for that to happen. You can't put all of your eggs in that basket to try to fast track that as much as possible because the actual success is not contingent upon that. When the executive does act, it often sabotages itself through incompetence. The GOP-controlled legislative refuses to pass any meaningful bills or confirm Trump nominees that might be effective. One big beautiful bill? The thing that fucking funded ICE? Along with a bunch of other things that they actually have passed. And yeah, they have been blockading a bunch of Trump nominees. And they've also confirmed a bunch of Trump nominees. They've decided to hang Trump out to dry, fully aware that this will usher the left back into power because they are part of the graft. So what the fuck are you going to do about it? And most inexplicably of all, the Trump team has all but given up on anything their base wants besides stopping illegal border crossings and decided to pander to Israel and India, despite it being obvious that if they fail to retain power, the left will go full Brazilian to destroy them. In short, no one will do anything about the cancer. So not only is your cancer terminal, But there isn't even anything we could do to make you comfortable. So you're going to die a miserable, agonizing death with totally by yourself. Nobody can be around you. Sorry. Okay, maybe this is true. Of what use is it to post this out here? This is just emotional self-gratification. This is just masturbating in public. This is OnlyFans for dissident right dudes. So it's over. There will be no reform via political or electoral means. The only thing future elections will determine is if we drive into the gorge going fast or really fast. The future is either a violent backlash that preserves the nation by overthrowing the state, or the state will complete its transformation into a malignant tyranny and kill the nation. Either way, the republic dies, we couldn't keep it. Dude, you would be better off reading and writing like women's smut novels. That would be a more productive use of your time. Write about women and their like dating minotaurs or whatever. It would have a greater attachment to reality, and it would be more of a net benefit to society than this. So Kaiser von Lohengram, absolute patriot, he replies, so many people like to just throw out, it's over, no more political solutions, in the face of setbacks and failures. It's a very easy conclusion to come to, and part of its allure is that it then leads you to complete and total inaction, which is much more comfortable than sober reality. Suppose that the republic is over. It isn't reformable. Drastic change and capture is necessary in order to make something new. Let's look at virtually every instance of this historically, shall we? The American Revolution had us capturing legislatures that were available, and even as those were dissolved, forming parallel provincial congresses and organizing and uniting across all colonies to set forth continental congresses for agreed action. Existing power structures were seized and used, parallels were formed concurrently. The English Civil War saw the usage of parliamentary seats in governance, while Cromwell further created the new model army, which was his basis of taking power as Lord Protector, which he himself formed. Similar enough events occurred in the Glorious Revolution as well. Existing power structures were seized and used, parallels were formed concurrently. The Russian Revolution had the Bolsheviks as a political party and faction within the overall system, who seized everything they could, from elections in the state dumas to trade unions and organized heavily outside of this and in parallel structures. Existing power structures were seized and used, parallels were formed concurrently. Caesar was only able to do what he did as he was a consul, member of the triumvirate, was a general, and had extensive support within the political aperture as well. Existing power structures were seized and used, parallels were formed concurrently. The French Revolution only occurred by the utilization of the Third Estate, with additional members from the First and Third coalescing into the National Assembly. Further, Napoleon himself was a general who worked within and with the Jacobins, and later the Directory, till he could eventually stage a coup. Existing powers were seized and used, parallels were formed concurrently. I could continue, but I've made my point. In virtually every example historically of seizures of power and major changes to internal government structures, regardless of whether they were bloody or bloodless, irrespective of what their ideology was, and cutting across millennia, you will find this pretty much every single time. The pre-existing governmental structure has positions within it seized and used in order to form something new, and parallel structures are formed in conjunction with this. Now, let's apply this to our day. If you truly believe that there is absolutely no solution within the current regime and structure as it exists, then the only option which makes sense, what you must do, is take as many elected office within existing party and power structure, i.e., the Republican Party, on as many levels as possible, local, state, and federal, and work to create parallel structures to facilitate this. And if you think that things are going to be less than peaceful, then you need both parallel military structures, and you absolutely need people within the current existing one. What would be the absolute single most retarded and counterproductive act possible, if you believed what you claim to believe, is to advocate total abandonment of working within the system as it currently exists. This is guaranteed to result in your complete loss and failure of everything you could ever want to achieve, and will only lead to your total subjugation. If you think there is no political solution, the only sensible thing is to vote even more. This is a perfect bell curve meme. At the left end, you've got the chud with two teeth who's like, I'm just going to keep voting. At the right end, you have the high IQ aristocrat who's, I'm just going to keep voting. I'm going to vote even harder. This goes back to something that John Doyle said. He said there's like, if you're the enemy, if you're the regime, and you want to attack patriots, demoralize patriots, then one angle that you can take on this is you could say that Trump is so bad, Trump is so evil, Trump is the worst, Trump is a Nazi, Trump is Hitler, Trump is fascism, Trump is blah, 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 blah. And they've run that playbook for a long, long time. They've whittled away as many people as they're going to get with that. Those people are coalescing around an immovable coalition. But once you've exhausted that, what's the next thing that you do? Well, you take people, you're not going to get the like total dyed-in-the-wool, absolute truthers who don't give a fuck and are just gonna flip you the bird and go about their day. You're never going to get those people. So who are you going to get? You're going to get the people who are dissatisfied with Trump from the right, ostensibly. From in their mind, they're like, oh, I'm to the right of Trump, and he's just a total failure because he's owned by Israel. And you tell them, not only are you right, you are so right. You're too right. You are so right that Trump will never be good enough for you. Trump is compromised. The only thing that you can do is opt out. Just check out. None of these people represent you. So just don't play the game. Don't even get involved. And if you don't even get involved, then we can just win. You can rig elections in a variety of different ways. One way you can do that is by adding votes. The other way you can do it is by subtracting votes. This whole demoralization op, with all of its different facets and tendrils, is the same sort of op as Russiagate. You are just the doomers are the new NPC normies being suckered by the psyop of the day. So before, the psyop of the day was Trump is so evil that you can't possibly support him. The new psyop of the day is Trump is so cucked and ineffective that you can't possibly support him. No, don't invest yourself in his political apparatus. Don't work and collaborate to advance his agenda. Just check out of it. There's nothing you could do. It's too far gone. It's very telling when the lefties and the doomers are saying the same thing. Yes. Yes. How is this not obvious? I got some tips that came through. Let me play these real quick. Federati America.
The Romans granted their auxiliaries citizenship after 25 years, and then granted the land and conquered territories. In the Age of Horses, this was essentially exile. Rob easy for ice auxiliaries. I take a land grant in Venezuela. Icy ice leaves. Winewees?
Icy ice leaves, yes! We're going to give you a land grant in Venezuela in return for working for ICE. You work for ICE for 10 years, and you get a land grant. We're going to banish our Leaf Bros to go colonize Venezuela for us. You know, speaking of Venezuela, I can't remember if I said this before on here or not, but a fun little thing about Venezuela, you know how the whole City of London thing is, it like, you had like the Venetian bankers, and then they moved to the Dutch to the Netherlands, and then the Netherlands, the Dutch bankers took over the City of London. But it started in Venice. Like that's you trace it back to Venice. Venezuela which is like the City of London hub for the Western Hemisphere, literally means Little Venice. How's that for some Q stuff for you? Juice layer.
Juice layers shall increase until grapes decrease. The normies who joined in are never based and red-pilled, they are normies acting based and red-pilled. Knickers be acting out and something needs doing. I am regarded in a very special way. I am Skits Lord.
Haha! Skits Lord! There we go. We've got ourselves a Skits Lord. Boys and girls. I like normies that act based in red-pilled. I prefer that to actually based in red pilling the normies. That's kind of a dangerous game. Also here, let me check. This one didn't come through. So we got see you in the camp with $8 said there's nothing funnier for me as a Minnesotan than watching this thoroughly unimpressive population attempt to defend themselves in real time. They are, to a person, genuinely stupid people. They are not equipped to operate here without massive financial support and shit libs. Yes! Like, ultimately, the problem is very solvable. It's very solvable. It's going to take a little bit of time, but it's very solvable. And we have an administration that's signaling very hard that they are more than happy to solve this problem, along with all the other things that they're doing. Okay, so if you think there is no political solution, the only sensible thing is to vote even more. Keep going with this a little bit more. So normal person here, very, very appropriately named, says, LOL, no, the Republican Party needs to be destroyed. So we need to do to the Republican Party what the Republican Party wants for itself. That's what he's saying. He's saying the Republican Party wants to be relegated back to outside party status, so we need to collaborate with them on that. And so Kaiser here says, how do you destroy the Republican Party? By what means do you destroy the Republican Party? What is the end result of destroying the Republican Party? Does it advance our position in any meaningful way? If you destroy the Republican Party, how do you do so without preventing a massive left-wing victory over literally everything? These are questions which no one who says things like this will ever be capable of answering. It is a pure, impotent cry of anger from someone who simply will not take action or even explain how to take these actions or how they can result in anything that is beneficial. This is libertarianism. That's all this is. The Doomers are just libertarians. The Doomers put the L in LGBT. Michael here says, make the Republicans lose so badly and in a way that's clear that their voters didn't vote for Democrats. End result, an actual right-wing party that can compete. So, destroy the Republicans and then have an actual right-wing party that can compete. What? Okay, maybe I missed a sentence in here or something. Make the Republicans lose so badly and in a way that's clear that their voters didn't vote for Democrats. Okay, so now we have complete control by Democrats, which the reason why the Republicans are so bad is because they're going to give complete control of Democrats back after not doing enough, and then the Democrats are all going to kind of like kill us all and put us in homes and cut all of our kids' dicks off and stuff. So what we need to do is make the Republicans lose so badly that the Republican Party apparatus goes, oh man, all of our voters just left us behind, and now the Democrats are all in charge. So once the Democrats finish cutting all of our kids' dicks off and putting us all in jail, then we're going to have an actual right-wing party that can compete.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
What in the fuck are you talking about, man? My position is advanced because actual opposition is possible. You can't prevent the left from winning doing this. So, on one hand, we need to destroy the Republican Party because they just want to give power back to the Democrats. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to give power back to the Democrats so that we can have an actual party. Where's this party coming from? Is there a party that I don't know about? I wasn't invited to the party. You're gonna do the actual right-wing party that can compete in this two-party system, but you're just not gonna tell anyone about it. You're just gonna kind of like run up and be like, "Boo!" all of a sudden, and everyone's gonna go, "Oh shit, I'm gonna vote for you." Okay, how do people? Another thing John Doyle once said. He said, "When I die, I'm not going to wish, man, I wish I'd argued with more fucking retards while I was alive." Kaiser von Lohengram is going to do it for us. There are two major flaws with the idea of having the Republican Party lose so that we get something better as an end result. The first major problem with this is that you will allow a Democrat landslide victory who will proceed to import and provide amnesty to as many people as possible to increase their pool of voters, also use every aspect of the regime to destroy you, and will guaranteed have by pure numbers enough votes to rule to the end of time. The other major flaw is that this doesn't account for the fact that the Republican Party, as it exists now, is perceived as undergoing radical insurgent change against the previous conservative order pre-Trump. Those who existed prior to Trump still hold very large amounts of power, money, and sway over institutions. A major sweeping loss of the Republican Party now will have you contending with all of these people who will propose the following counter-narrative. Trump and the MAGA movement moved too far into identity politics. We're too offensive, too racist, too radical, and we need to return to a party of respectable conservative small government, family values, and fiscal responsibility. And if that happens, if there is a major destruction, mark my words, that side would win in reforming the Republican Party and making it a more gay, more immigrant-friendly, more controlled opposition, beautiful loser conservative party than it ever was before in history. This is the most obvious observation that has ever been made in the history of observations. Everything you describe here is happening now, under Trump. We're still being replaced, but slower and legally. Trump loves Lindsey Graham and hates Massey and MTG. The coming 26 loss is being set up to be the fault of Nick Fuentes or Tucker. We tried reform, it didn't work. The best we ever get from Republicans is a pause on government policies designed to fuck us. Only chance is to flip the board. It's a small chance, but continuing to do what we've been doing is certain death, just a bit slower. My God, put these people in camps. Keep them away from sharp objects. Monitor them 24/7 so we make sure they don't forget to breathe. What in the flying hell? I promise this is going somewhere. You have to tolerate the aggravation here to get to the promised land. Back to Kaiser von Lohengram. On accelerationist retardation, the only chance is to flip the board to win. What does he mean by flipping the board? Does he mean some kind of radical action? Some kind of true organizing or going fully 1776? No. What he means by flipping the board is that you actually just keep voting. Even as he says, we aren't going to vote our way out of this, he actually means you vote for the people who are explicitly against your own interests. It's amazing. These people will attack absolutely everyone who seeks to conduct any kind of actual action or organizing that makes sense for a person who lives under the system as it exists, but they cannot conceive of literally any other action to them except vote for the blue team or don't vote at all. Accelerationists are the people who, ironically enough, believe voting matters more than any other group. I could not dream of a better psychological operation as a leftist than this one, where you convince your enemies that giving you everything you want is actually going to help them. Guys, if we hand our enemies absolutely everything they could ever want and desire and help them achieve all their goals, we will actually win in the end. It's so unbelievably stupid, and yet there are legitimately quite popular people who advocate exactly this. I think quite often at this suggestion of the men of the German Freikorps. Again, I don't know if that's Freikorps, Freikorps. I'm just going to say Freikorps unless someone corrects me. Quite often, staunchly right-wing men who were left with the only options available being outright communists or a liberal democratic republic. And these men, veterans of the trenches and the defeated men of the Great War, picked up rifles once more and fought and bled against the communists. Because they understood well that the Spartacus League would see them and their way of life and everything they held dear destroyed. But the Weimar Republic would not. And that was enough for them to be willing to lay down their lives. You now are faced with a far easier situation than them. Obviously, this is targeted at Americans. They were in a war-torn nation dealing with starvation and disease. You live in relative peace and prosperity. Their task required them to actively fight and die. Yours requires you to take active efforts in your political system. Though your enemies are much the same. Leftists right now want to import a hostile population into our borders and then transfer your wealth and resources to them while requiring you to work to keep the system functioning while the foreigners defraud and on occasion kill you. Those who are supposed to be on your side will routinely respond insufficiently to this. That's the reality of our situation. You can decide to just check out, go bet money on FanDuel, engage with whatever bread and circuses you want, or fantasize delusional scenarios and theories about how losing is actually winning. Or you can look at all of that, take up an active effort to correct the situation. You can simply say, and yet. An excellent article on the topic of the Freikorps published by a good friend in the Nathaniel Green Society. And this is Obed. Yeah, this is just the Nathaniel Green Society is the Obed Saint N Green is the Twitter handle. Flipping the board means sacrificing your queen for nothing and telling yourself that losing is winning. This kind of accelerationism is completely unserious. Right. And I wish it could just be treated as this, just like nobody of consequence, nobody serious. Nobody with any sort of platform or audience is talking this way, but there is an extraordinary number of people who are thinking and talking this way. So here's this great article from the Nathaniel Green Society publication on Substack. And yet, towards an American Freikorps, J.H. Rhodes, November 4, 2025. The old world is dying and the new world struggles to be born. Now is the time of monsters. The encroaching horde. Hold on a sec. Okay. It is quite apparent that our nation is assailed by a foreign horde. Here in North Carolina, churches are bulldozed to make room for foreign investments and temples to literal demon gods. Everywhere I go, I see the third world encroaching, from schools to Costco to the park. Small southern towns once filled with heritage American families have been replaced with cheap apartments swimming with third world biomass. Our institutions are overrun by aliens who hate Americans and seek to replace us. This is conquest in slow motion, and yet we persevere. This is not mere paranoia, the schizophrenic ramblings of a fascist bigot or whatever insult of the day. It is the reality of a nation under siege. Conservative politicians promise change, hiding behind the guise of America First and other meaningless platitudes, while betraying their base at every opportunity. They subvert our people and import our replacements by the millions, all in the name of the precious GDP, the only thing these types seek to conserve. They bend over backwards to foreign interests, one in particular, sending Americans to die in their forever wars and destroying their lives at home. But you know this, dear reader, I'm merely preaching to the choir. It seems that our situation is hopeless, that America is being killed in real time and there is no hope. No one's coming to save you, as the saying goes. So, what are we to do? Freikorps voran. In these times, I'm reminded of the German Freikorps, those brave men coming home to a broken country overrun by communists, stabbed in the back by the left after years of war. In the face of an evaporating government and revolution all around, groups of men, hardened veterans, banded together to save their country and crush the leftist menace that was on the march across Europe. In late 1918, as the Kaiser abdicated, the German state simply ceased to exist. The nascent Weimar Republic was yet to find its footing, and chaos reigned supreme. The so-called government, weak and full of soft leftists, could not stem the tide of communist revolution that was sweeping the country. In the face of an evaporating government and revolution on the march, groups of men, hardened veterans of the trenches, banded together to put order to the chaos and end the revolution. These were not ragtag militias. They were well-equipped, disciplined veterans, often ex-stormtroopers, recently demobilized from the war. These were strong, right-wing and anti-communist men with nothing to lose and their country to gain. They were battle-hardened and led by their best, men like Hermann Ehrhardt and Wilhelm Reinhard. Armed with stockpiles of small arms, ordnance, and even armored cars left over from demobilization, they were the only force capable of crushing the rising tide of leftism in Germany. Vor wir sind dagets immer, would this be Vorwärts? Vorwärts? Something like that. What does this mean? Hold on. I never really learned a whole lot of German. Actually, wait here. Translate. And it is...
Wo wir sind, da geht's immer vorwärts.
Vorwärts. There you go. What did it mean? It meant, damn it. Wherever we are, things always move forward. Wherever the Red Terror reared its ugly head, the Freikorps were on the march. They marched from Berlin to Munich and the Ruhr, and even abroad to the Baltic as they fought in the crusade against the left and held the line against foreign armies encroaching on their homeland. Theirs was a lost cause as the cowards in the Weimar Republic suppressed and persecuted the very men they used to save the Republic in its infancy. The Freikorps fought an unwinnable battle, but this did not bother them. Their motto, Und doch, and yet, flew proudly on their banners, a symbol of defiance. This was their message to the world, that they would fight against all odds. Here's another one. Whoops. That's not what I wanted. I wanted this. And that.
Und der Teufel, der lacht nur dazu.
And the devil just laughs at it. For we are the ones who go forward. In our efforts to reclaim our own country, we should look to the Freikorps. Much as in Germany after the Great War, the left is on the march in our own country today. It is imperative for our side to organize, to build parallel structures, and stop the leftist menace before it's too late. We too have a large pool of disaffected young men, veterans of the forever wars overseas. Over 2 decades of war in the sandbox have produced a cadre of hardened men, natural leaders forged in fire. We have nothing to lose and everything to gain. The left's goals are the same now as always. They seek revolution and destruction. Under the banner of progress and in the service of their God called democracy, they dismantle borders, erase history, and destroy everything good in this country. Our statues are torn down, our heroes are denigrated, and our compatriots are brainwashed. They murder right-wingers in broad daylight, and the cowardly regime does nothing about it. Just like the November criminals of 1918, our so-called leaders stab us in the back at every opportunity. And yet, like the Freikorps, we refuse to surrender. Our men are disaffected, but they are not broken. Our coalition possesses a vast reservoir of vitality. Natural leaders are emerging as our men come together. If you're doing all of this like, it's all over, there's nothing we can do, all we have to do is just like opt out and prepare to ride it out in a foxhole or something, you're denying this reality. Our coalition possesses a vast reservoir of vitality. The doom posting is an active campaign to deplete that reservoir of vitality. It's an active campaign to prevent the rise of natural leaders to emerge as our men come together. We must organize, and we are. Patriotic men are banding together in fraternities like the Old Glory Club and making strides in their communities. Do not wait for permission. Act. Run for local office. Take over your school boards and gain influence in your communities. The most powerful force in human history is a band of white men with nothing to lose. Take back your country. And yet, it is in these times that we should look to the Freikorps. In the face of insurmountable odds, with the enemy at the gates, we give a simple reply. And yet, America is not dead. We're still in this fight. This land, our home, is worth saving. Do not despair. Do not black pill. Find your friends. Organize. Train. Take back your localities. Join your local Old Glory Club. If you're in North Carolina, join the Nathaniel Green Society. We build upwards, so find your base. The horde advances. The regime betrays. There is nothing new under the sun. And yet, we march on. Answer your country's call. Und doch. And I'll just add that that's a, we have it so much easier than they did. The actual Freikorps. We have it so much easier. Like, they had to talk about forming like some sort of like renegade paramilitary force. And yeah, it would be good to have that. We should be working toward that. But that's also not what time it is yet. We have a like elite strike force that has taken over key apparatuses of the government, and they are forming their own parallel paramilitary force. They're actively recruiting. You could join them. Furthermore, we still have so-called democratic options at our disposal. We can still organize and win elections. Many of these elections that are actually pretty substantial are pretty easy to win. There's a lot of districts and regions and stuff that just, there aren't a lot of people paying much attention to it. And we need our guys who know how to operate within this system, who have experience and connections, and they understand the processes and procedures, and not just in one region. We need to be decentralized, taking over these institutions all over the country. And this is in the political realm and also in the business world. We need our guys who are building things in the business world, whether it's to fund those other things or to solve problems or to get government contracts or to supply services to people, to form the social networks and connections, to build parallel economic structures. All of these resources are still at our disposal. You are not being actively hunted down in the woods. You can fucking pick up your phone and DoorDash some goy slop to your door right now if you want to. We have it vastly easier than they did. And we have actual people with significant power who are signaling and pulling in our same direction. We could debate about who's going to pull how far and how long and yada, yada, yada. Solve those problems when we get to them. Start pulling in the same direction. Start organizing. Join the OGC. Find your local OGC chapter. If you don't have one near you, or you just haven't had much success trying to work with them or something like that, because I know they're not all over the place yet. You can start your own. And you can have your own input on it. Being a part of a national organization like that helps when it comes to engaging with local existing community organizations. Or if you're just looking for people who are like-minded to support you, and whether it's supporting you, like helping you break through the urge of doom posting or feeling demoralized, or just someone to talk to, or any sort of support network that you want, join the Kingpill Discord. Kingpill.com. Go sign up and join it. You're going to find a great group of people who are very like-minded. Build something. And on. Start one yourself. Start a chapter. Start your own organization. Start your own fucking fraternal organization. We need as many as we can get. This is not like just pick one. No, we need them all over the place. All over the place with all sorts of different focuses. All right. Here's a little bit of fun. We got there's the first MAGA grandma we're going to see here tonight as we head into the back half. I can't remember this lady's name, but I've seen her on a few different things now. How to start a daycare in the middle of nowhere.
What the heck is this? Granny, what is going on here?
I've started a daycare center.
Why on earth would you do that?
Apparently, it's how one can get rich these days.
We're already full-time farmers and ranchers. We don't have time for this.
It's going to make us more than farming ever has.
But there aren't any children around here for miles.
I know that.
And your facilities are definitely not up to code.
doesn't matter.
And your hours of operation don't even make sense.
You know farmers, they don't run on normal people time.
And who made your sign?
Gate Mart.
Well, that explains the misspelling.
I knew he'd mess that up.
So where did you get your proof of concept for this daycare anyway?
Minnesota.
I really don't think...
I'm the captain now.
Rather fail with honor than succeed by fraud. So, look at this. Daycares in Minnesota donated a combined $35 million to political campaigns in the last 2 years. They didn't even try to hide the money trail. Look at this. All these different Minneapolis. These are all Minneapolis. You got Burnsville, you got Spring Lake Park, and all the money that they donated. This is like, the scam is very evident, very obvious here. They would take government aid money for like Medicaid or what do you call it? Child care subsidies, these grants and subsidies and what's the word I'm looking for here? Like aid from the government for poor people or what have you, and turn around, pretend they had a business, and they would turn around and take all of that money that came in and just donate it to political campaigns to fund local campaigns. Elon said fraud used to make political donations. That was the game. That's the whole game. This is how they win elections. In all of the purple states. I think that probably a lot of the blue states genuinely are blue. I think they're not as blue as people think, but I think they probably are blue. But then you've got a bunch of purple states or light blue states that are probably not anywhere near that blue. They may actually be red, or they're at least much less blue, which matters when you're getting into state and local governments and the House. Those things can matter quite a bit, because it could just be a matter of you steal a couple of House seats in a given state through fraud in like the urban area, and it could just be completely fraudulent. Or like in this case, this isn't necessarily the election itself is not necessarily stolen. I'm sure it's also stolen on top of this. But with something like this, the election is not necessarily stolen. It's just funded with these local elections that are largely basically determined by who spent the most money. They're just being funded by fraudulent money. So, if you can't get your campaign funded and you can't compete and you can't get the word out anywhere close because your opponent that you're running for a district that has 22,000 people in it their campaign gets $6.5 million in funding or something like that, and you're trying to scrape together $50,000, yeah, you're probably going to get cooked. Justine!
We're starting on the back half, but I'm already so sore from the front half. No need to worry about childcare with me, sweetheart. I bet the backdoor tactics are best saved for the libs and boomers. I bet it would be easy to peg them over this. Woo.
Justine, I'm married. Very happily so. You need to go find someone in the chat. You need to find someone in the chat to flirt with. Because, you can keep giving me money, but you're going to have to flirt with the chat. My wife might be listening, and she's going to get very upset. And I am a notorious wife guy here. So, I can't have you hitting on me in front of my wife. That just won't do. My wife says, I'll kill you, Justine. Silence! I kill you. I should get that on the soundboard. What are you guys talking about? JLH, I just found it, thanks. And I see a guy on the panel that I've had to unfollow on X because of this retardation. Emperor Trady says, Yarvin thinks that Florida is the model for how red the country is. DeSantis fortified it. DeSantis defortified it, and now it's solid red. Yeah, I think there's a very good chance of that. I think there's probably still a handful of states that would still be blue anyways. But, we're talking maybe like 10 blue states, 10 legitimately blue states and then probably like 30. Yeah, probably like 30 red states, and then 10 states that are kind of purplish, that are basically won through fraud. I guess it's probably something approximately along those lines. Now, here's how. If you're really concerned about this fraud and how it's used to steal elections and how it's just depriving taxpayer dollars and blah, 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 all of that, the path out of this is not arrests. Yes, we need arrests. We must have arrests. Give me arrests and prosecutions. But first and foremost, we must have the end of these money flows. These money flows must be stopped up. And here we have Deputy Secretary Jim O'Neill at HHS.
Hello, I'm HHS Deputy Secretary Jim O'Neill. I'm here with Assistant Secretary Alex Adams. Alex oversees the Administration for Children and Families. Intrepid journalists have made shocking and credible allegations of extensive fraud in Minnesota's child care programs. We believe the state of Minnesota has allowed scammers and fake daycares to siphon millions of taxpayer dollars over the past decade.
My office, ACF, provides Minnesota $185 million in child care funds each year. That money should be helping 19,000 American children, including toddlers and infants. Any dollar stolen by fraudsters is stolen from those children. Yesterday, I spoke directly with the director of the Minnesota Child Care Services Office. She could not tell me with confidence whether those allegations of fraud are isolated or whether there's fraud stretching statewide.
Today, we have taken 3 direct actions against the blatant fraud that seems to be rampant in Minnesota. First, I have activated our Defend the Spend system for all ACF child care payments across America. Starting today, we require a justification, receipt, or photo evidence before we make a payment. Second, I have just signed and sent a demand letter to Governor Walz. I required a full 360 review of these centers. This includes attendance records, licenses, complaints, investigations, and inspections.
Mellon says Jay Ford captioned this. The administration has sent out the white autists. Indeed, right. We are now weaponizing our autists against them.
And third, we've launched a dedicated fraud reporting hotline and email address at childcare.gov. Whether you're a parent, a provider, a member of the public, we want to hear from you. Let me be crystal clear. ACF expects every state to uphold the highest standards of oversight, monitoring, and accountability for federal dollars. Minnesota is no exception.
We're committed to holding bad actors accountable. Regardless of rank or office, anyone who's involved in perpetrating this fraud against the American people should expect to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
So, this is a big freaking deal. This takes effect immediately. Prosecutions and deportations can take time. This takes effect immediately. The HHS Doge team, wait. Hold on a second. Doge HHS. Well, it's got the gray badge here. But Doge doesn't exist anymore, so this can't be possible. I wonder what sort of who created this fake account. The HHS Doge team has expanded the Defend the Spend system to require all ACF payments across America to be justified. Since March of 2025, Defend the Spend has applied only to HHS discretionary payments, which did not include these ACF payments. Over the coming days, we will expand the system to support itemized receipts and photographic evidence and make all data and receipts, where possible, available to the public. This reminds me of one of the things that Bessent said when he, that with the Treasury, literally not a single transaction with the Treasury was ever validated for the past decades. I remember how long it was. Just essentially, if something was sent to the Treasury to pay, it was paid. Just no question. And one of the big things they instituted was you have to use the right code to indicate what sort of transaction this is, and they all have to be validated and signed off on. And we're going to withhold payment on stuff that doesn't have that. So many of these frauds, these fraud schemes, were so transparent, low-hanging fruit, just super easy stuff that the most moderate form of monitoring or checking or whatever would have nipped it in the bud. It could have never actually gotten off the ground. Because it was just the slightest bit of oversight. It was so transparently obvious that it was fraud that you don't have to have like some Uncle Hitler fan running the place to be like, nope, that's bad. This is going to lefty propaganda, whatever. You just have to moderate, ordinary normie that's like, yeah, no, that doesn't make any sense. We're not gonna. This is obvious fraud. We need to report this and run this up to the chain of command and yada yada yada. Juice Layer.
I have Anons tell me that no one cares about the country and just use it for money. The Freikorpsmen were the result of a millennia of German Freiherrenhof warrior culture, a nickname for the Landsknechts of the Holy Roman Empire. Do you have that, Anon?
That's a good question. Do you have that? Do you have that spirit in you? Can you rally that spirit? Can you rally your own American version of that spirit? Because, like, again, we're not in the exact same situation as they were. They were way worse off than we are. Much more dire. They'd literally just come out of one of the most grueling, brutal, bloody wars ever fought right there where they were. So they were starvation, disease, they were devastated. We got it, there's definitely some bad stuff, but it's more like, well, if we're not careful, then after another handful of years or decades, we might start getting to that point. Donkey Bite says, this Minnesota thing feels like this will be the standard operating procedure in fighting these scumbags. Independent journalists on social media bring forth these problems, building public support, and turn them down. Administration is not going to go out of its way to find these things. We'll have to do the work. I mean, I think to some degree, I think it's tough to tell how much of this stuff is being seeded by the administration or people in the orbit of the administration intentionally to create the pretext to move the ball forward on something like this. But, I mean, even if it's just like all of our people need to go figure these things out and amplify them. We've got plenty of tools for all of that. So you can have your whole like doom fapping session constantly whipping up just wild screeching, or you can take all of that time and energy and devote it to hunting down these frauds and forcing these out into trending areas. And we've got tens of thousands of people that could be involved in all of this. So each little group of people can take on one particular domain in one particular region, and work it up, get it trending, build a brand around it, that this is a thing that's happening, and put pressure on the local officials in that area. Run local marketing campaigns, run local ads in your area, advertising what's happening to the people in your area. And use this as just a constant full court pressure on both political parties at all levels. Democrats to associate them with the explicit participation in this fraud as a business model, as the one reason that they've had any sort of electoral success. And on the flip side, using it as pressure against Republicans to actually address and solve these problems. You may not be able to get Congress to act on some of this stuff, but you might be able to get your local officials to act on some of these things because they actually live in neighborhoods with people who might do something about it if they don't. Here's a frame on this for you. So this is not just like, oh, just little guys here at the little guy level who care about this and we're shouting into the void and no one's listening. I mean, I showed you Elon's tweet. This is another issue that Elon's just been ramping on for a while. And then there's this from Chamath from the All In podcast. He says, daycares in Minnesota outspent each of the Mag 7 in political giving. Let that sink in for just a second here. Daycares in Minnesota, the Minnesota daycare industry. I'm listing off like really big, wealthy, powerful industries in America that you're like, you got to make sure you secure this industry if you want to win elections. I don't think many people would have had the Minnesota daycare industry on their list of like key financial powerhouses to secure in order to grant yourself election success. Daycares in Minnesota together outspent every single one of the Mag 7 individually in political giving. Seems not fishy. Per Gemini, based on federal lobbying disclosures for the full year of 2024, 0 individual tech companies reached the $35 million threshold. While 2024 was a record-breaking year for many tech giants, their individual federal spending remained well below $35 million. Even the largest spenders in the industry, Amazon, Meta, and Alphabet, typically hover in the $15 million to $25 million range. That is insane. This is like the statistic of the year. Minnesota daycares outspent Meta, outspent Alphabet, outspent Amazon, outspent Apple in political donations. There is not a single person in the world who can look at that and be like, "Oh, you know, that's yeah, I could figure out how that works." No. No. I mean, yeah, on one hand, you're comparing an entire industry to a single company. But the entire industry you're talking about is fucking daycares in one state. This is insane. Insane. And it's just scratching the surface. We're going to find out the entire deficit and some is all fraudulent. The Democrat Party has only existed as a formal institution because of open and flagrant crime. Not even like sophisticated backroom crime. No, just open, flagrant crime. It's just that nobody was looking or doing anything about it. So any amount of looking and doing anything about it is already leaps and bounds ahead of where we were before. Literally any single thing that anyone does about it is better than what was being done before. And yeah, the administration was already in Minnesota, investigating all of this stuff and putting together cases on this even before the issue actually broke out into the... So if anything, the fact that it went viral like this made their job much easier. Do you think it's easier to get convictions in Minnesota on something like this now, after this has gone viral, than it was before? Or do you think that this big story had no effect on it whatsoever? Or did it make it harder to get a conviction? If a conviction is even what you want. Frankly, I don't give a shit about the conviction. Just stop the fucking money flow. Just make sure it stops. Who cares if someone gets convicted or we drop them in a volcano or they run into the Canadian wilderness and disappear? I don't care what happens to the people themselves. Just cut off the flow. Ryan Isaac says, we really have to consider the fact the only meaningful patronage to the left of center is from the tiny hats. Right. And here, like, literally every other demographic could abandon the left. And if all that was left was just patronage from the tiny hats, that's all we would hear about. Night Pale Morning, dude. Slutty Muck, the party of rape, murder, fraud, trafficking, and treason. So true. Now we're getting conversations about patronage actually entering the more common dialogue here. Powerful rant from David Sachs, one of my favorite tiny hats. Powerful rant from David Sachs to end 2025. It tracks a lot of what many of us have been saying too. The patronage network of the left is strip mining the USA for personal gain without regard for our collective welfare. This is an incredibly powerful political message. This is a message that will resonate with a lot of people. This is a powerful scapegoat. We've got to be careful with this scapegoat. That's how powerful it is.
I hope that there will be a serious investigation. I hope that there will be indictments. I hope there will be deportations, hopefully massive amounts of deportations.
Yes.
And I hope there'll be impeachments of some of these officials who let the fraud happen.
Ooh,
so
love
the country is being eaten alive, it feels like, by fraud.
Juice Lair.
Makes sense to me. They are giving all the money they get back to their donors. Very noble. Very pro-social. Very communist and therefore good. The tall Nords operate through their true sons in Minnesota, the Somalis. Canada mentioned. Hunt them down.
We're gonna run them up into Canada so you can hunt them down. That's how you'll get your. That's how you'll put together your nest egg and begin building your empire. It's just running down the running down the Somalis that we herd up into the Great White North. I mean, again, like this is they just had a patronage system. They had people who brought them over, said, "Here, we're going to give you all this money. Here's what I want you to do with it, and otherwise, we'll just like leave you alone. And you can have food, and you can have smartphones, and you can have cars, and you can have what like." Of course, a bunch of fucking Q-tip heads are going to be like, "Sure, okay, great. You want to use me as your like human, as like your money laundering meat bag? Yeah, I'm just like a mobile fleshy bank for you. All right, fine. I'll be your bag man. Sure." And you're going to give me a car and a smartphone and a stipend and, put my kids in school and give me food. Sure. Okay. Great. Yeah, and cause to prayer downtown. You'll even make it feel like home? Okay. Great. And so then all you have to do is okay, that business model doesn't exist anymore. You guys got to go home. Oh, okay. I guess we'll go home then. There again, you should be able to outsmart the Somalis.
Government funds are being stolen, votes are being stolen, I believe elections are being stolen, and it all comes from the fact that the party of government doesn't really care where the money goes. It's all just patronage to them. Whether it's to Somali daycares or whether it's to this high-speed rail line that doesn't have one piece of track laid. I mean, how much has California wasted on that? Yeah. Or $24 billion to the homelessness, only to see the homeless population increase. Look, these politicians don't care how the money is spent at all. All they care about is rewarding their supporters. That's the whole game. And then those supporters round trip a portion of the ill-gotten gains they've gotten from the government back to those politicians. That's the whole game. And then when the whole thing blows up because it's just so corrupt and inefficient and so absurd, what do? They try to find productive people to scapegoat. And they say that billionaires are your problem. They'll blame billionaires for that, or they'll blame the tech community. Look, the startup community, the tech community is one of the, I'd say, last extremely well-functioning parts of American society. But they don't control it yet. And so that's what the politicians will do, is they will try to find scapegoats to expand their control and expand the size and scope of the corrupt system that they're running.
We're getting discussions of patronage on the All In podcast now. Now, I mean, you might have some quibbles with him saying like the tech community is the only thing that's still functional. I'm sure that what he's thinking of when he says the tech community is probably different than what most people are thinking of. But I do think that it is if we're dealing with like rich billionaires or just like rich people in general who are mostly just driven by a lust for power, it's better if you can buy them off than having to like try to use force against them to start appropriating their assets and imprisoning them and prosecuting them and stuff. That's very, very expensive and brings with it a lot of danger. If you could just buy them off, that's way, way better. It's straight mob boss politics. We're just gonna pay you. We'll pay you more than the other guy did. It's like when I was talking about the ICE advertisements, running targeted ICE advertisements through like Google and Facebook and everything. We're gonna pay you. We're gonna buy you off to do our political thing. Same goes for any other. We are happy to take converts to the cause, no matter how sincere or cynical they are. What's going on is your job is not to read their minds. You're not a woman. Your job is you're not supposed to be in the business. Maybe if you are a woman, then that's what the wife jacks can work on, is reading their minds. But our job isn't to like try to read their minds and like decide, is this a sincere and honest expression of faith, or is he just trying to save face by giving paying his penance or whatever? I don't give a fuck. I just want to see him paying his penance. I just want to see him put his money where his mouth is. I want to see him just acquiesce. You don't have to issue a big apology and whatever. Now, in certain cases, obviously, there's certain people who should be prosecuted. Those are going to take a long time. We can't sit around and wait for that to happen. If you want those prosecutions to be successful, then we got to be fucking working our asses off in the meantime to ensure that the ball keeps moving forward, to allow for the amassing of political power sufficient to effectuate those kinds of things. Because another thing to consider is that if these sorts of schemes are being operated in areas that are under the control of these sorts of mafias, then most likely the judges and the juries that you get are going to be the same thing. So now you've got to try to figure out how to get an untainted jury. You got to get, like, sure, yes, do all this. Have people spend time on all of this. But this can't be like the number one focus that the entire world has to stop and wait while we sort all of this stuff out. We got places to go. We got things to build. We've got a lot more to do. Now, remember how I said the City of London will be a household name by the end of 2026. Well, speaking of the City of London, here we have the MAGA grandma herself, Miss Susan Kokinda from Promethean Action. She's caught on record. British Lord admits Trump's national security strategy has the empire, quote, on the ropes, and reveals their plan to outlast him. While media screams Trump sold out, the real enemy just confessed they're terrified. Watch what they don't want you to see. This is up to, as of right now, it's at 600. Well, when I opened this page a couple hours ago, it was at 616,000 views. It's very good to see the Promethean Action ladies really starting to grow. Really starting to grow their reach. More and more of their posts are going viral, which is good for all of us. So here is this video from Ms. Susan Kokinda. Let's go.
While media and influencers on all sides of the political spectrum are screaming that Donald Trump sold out in his meetings with Zelensky and Netanyahu, the real enemy just admitted that Donald Trump has them on the ropes. Just days after Donald Trump released his national security strategy in early December, the British House of Lords convened a session in London to discuss how to stop Trump and his new strategy. And one of them was caught on record telling his peers to ignore the president because, as he said,
I was in Washington, D.C. last week with other members of the NATO Parliamentary Assembly, and when the national security strategy was discussed with our fellow elected members in the US, their message was clear that NSSs come and go, sometimes they're implemented and sometimes they don't, but we should judge by what Congress passes, and the National Defence Appropriation Act last week delivered an extra £8 billion to European defence and put a floor of some 76,000 troops, US troops in Europe.
The translation of that? The national security strategy is a mortal threat to the British Empire, and we're going to activate all of our networks in the United States to try and stop it. They're saying this because they're terrified. But if you listen to the noise in Washington and in social media, you'd think Trump was the one losing control. Because in the last few days after the president met with Zelensky,
Somalia has a 4,000-year history with India and the Middle East. The oath cult made Hermeticism. Imagine being in the middle of all that and taking the worst of all three cultures. Somalis are spiritually sterile from hybridity. Mules of the world.
Oh, that's why they look like that. Spiritually sterile from hybridity. I mean, like, I don't know how you can wind up looking like that and having such an identifiable ethnos that is largely identified with its 65 IQ. There's clearly got to be some really dark shit in the past.
and
Yeah, high mutational load. That's kind of what I was thinking of. Like Aboriginals. Yeah, you've got, this is the product of demon worshiping and you know, incest and all sorts of degeneracy from not having any sort of competent civilization or religious North Star or anything like that. This is a bunch of savages who are barely being dragged out of the just barely being dragged. I was going to say the jungle. Somalia's more desert, but just barely being dragged out of that world. Which is, like, it's not that... It's fine. There's lots of people who are like that. And, you know, you got, like, remote tribes in the Amazon and this sort of thing who haven't seen... You know, it wasn't until the 1990s that they ever saw an airplane or something. Or there's islands out there that have never seen an airplane. And they just live. They're cannibals and that sort of thing. Sure, that's great. We don't need to go... Like, we don't need to go on, like, a mass extermination and just brutally murder and torture all of them. But we also don't need to be inviting them into our country.
Yahoo, the political world has exploded. Now, if you listen to Mike Pompeo and the neocons, Trump sold out to Putin. If you listen to the anti-war crowd, he sold out to Zelensky. If you follow the MAGA wars or Marjorie Taylor Greene, you're being told he surrendered to Israel, or can we just do America? They're all wrong. What you just witnessed wasn't a sellout, it was a takeover. It was the first live-fire test of the very strategy the British are trying to kill. Trump hasn't surrendered. He signed the Do Not Resuscitate order for the British post-war world. And that's why they're not celebrating in London or Brussels tonight. They realize the special relationship.
They call him DNR Trump.
Their ability to manipulate American power for their wars is over, as long as Donald Trump is calling the shots. I'm Susan Kokinda. I became politically active way back in 1968, campaigning for Robert F. Kennedy Sr. in California.
1968 was the year my dad was born.
When he was assassinated. For decades, my colleagues at Promethean Action and I have been in the real fight. So take it from a political veteran. If enough of you understand what Trump is doing, we're going to celebrate the 250th anniversary of our independence in 2026 by finishing the job. So if that sounds like your kind of fight, hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons so we can expand our reach. Today,
that calls for an Erica.
Auf der Heide blüht ein kleines Blümelein. Und das heißt Erika.
Today I'm going to look at how the new national security strategy is in action with Trump.
Juice Flare.
Whoa. Who said anything about torture? I don't think we need to go out there to exterminate them. I think we have plenty at home we can use to solve that problem. Catboys and headphones can fly drones for the betterment of the whole world.
Yeah, we're gonna give Clavicular some headphones, and he can go fly drones. That's gonna be his hard manual labor. I kind of don't think he'd be able to handle much more physical activity than that.
Trump's meetings with Zelensky and Netanyahu. How the British are directly deployed to stop the national security strategy, and how Trump's economic revolution led by tariffs is the final blow to the British system. Now, if you're living in the world of binary choices, pro-Israel versus pro-Palestinian, free world versus Putin and the other autocrats, you're missing the tectonic shifts taking place. So you have Mike Pompeo screaming that Trump sold out to Putin. You have a part of the MAGA movement declaring that Trump sold out to Netanyahu, and another part applauding it. And they're all wrong. The truth is in this document, the 2025 National Security Strategy. And this week, Trump used it to clear the board. So let's start with Russia and Ukraine. The British and the EU sent Zelensky to Mar-a-Lago with a mission: demand open-ended security guarantees, NATO membership, and keep the war machine running. They're operating off of Winston Churchill's post-war playbook that says Russia is our permanent enemy. But Trump is operating off his new national security strategy. And here's what it says. It is a core interest of the United States to negotiate an expeditious cessation of hostilities in Ukraine, to prevent unintended escalation or expansion of the war, and reestablish strategic stability with Russia. And then a little later, and to end the perception and prevent the reality of NATO as a perpetually expanding alliance. That is what is driving Trump's negotiating position with Zelensky. So how did the empire respond to Trump's refusal to bend? Immediately after the meeting, drones attacked President Putin's residence in Valdai. The Russians were furious, but they called it a slap in the face to Trump. Now, ask yourself, was this really just Zelensky going rogue, or was the British hand at work? We're not alone in pointing out that British intelligence plays a bigger role in guiding these drone systems than the Ukrainians do. As the conservative Treehouse blog put it in their coverage of the attack, I suspect the British did it. So this wasn't a military strike. It was a sabotage operation designed to blow up the Trump-Putin peace channel. But Trump and Putin refused to take the bait. They aren't pawns anymore. Here's Trump's response.
President Putin told me about it. Early in the morning, he said he was attacked. It's no good. It's no good. Don't forget, the Tomahawks. I stopped the Tomahawks. I didn't want that. Because we're talking about, it's a delicate period of time. This is not the right time. It's one thing to be offensive, because they were offensive. It's another thing to attack his house. It's not the right time to do any of that, and can't do it. And I learned about it from President Putin today. I was very angry about it.
And Putin's spokesman Ushakov reported that in that conversation with Trump, Vladimir Putin emphasized that the Russian side intends to continue close and productive work with its U.S. partners in searching for ways to achieve peace. Now watch how this same grand strategy...
That's honestly pretty remarkable. Like this, once upon a time, this probably would have earned some coverage. The fact that there was an assassination attempt made at Vladimir Putin's house, and Putin himself told Trump about it, and then his spokesperson issued a statement saying, "We are going to continue on our close and productive work with the United States." That's a very strong signal that they're like, we know the United States didn't do this. We know that this is at odds with the stated position of the United States with respect to our negotiations. It doesn't suit the United States' interest whatsoever. The only people's interest that it serves is the financiers of the war behind Zelensky, which is, there's a lot of different interests there from different countries, but it really centers in, you've got the means, the motive, and the opportunity largely for the British.
She explains the panic over the Netanyahu meeting. For decades, the British have used the Mideast as the cockpit of war. They've created Zionism and Islamic fundamentalism to play the superpowers and victim nations against each other. The new national security strategy flips the board over. It accurately states that for a half-century, American foreign policy prioritized the Mideast above all other regions because it was a major energy supplier, and it described it as a prime theater of superpower competition. But the NSS goes on to say those dynamics no longer hold because superpower competition has given way to great power jockeying, in which the United States retains the most enviable position, reinforced by President Trump's successful revitalization of our alliances in the Gulf, with other Arab partners, and with Israel. Catch that? Revitalization of our alliances in the Gulf with other Arab partners and with Israel. Not Israel first, despite what Tucker Carlson thinks. Trump is saying, we're not playing your games any longer.
What is that?
And he is deliberately and quietly removing countries from the grip of the geopoliticians and treating them as independent nations with common interests with the United States, not as pawns or gas stations or triggers for religious prophecy. So in that content, here's what Trump actually told Bibi Netanyahu. You aren't the sheriff anymore. We'll take care of Iran if needed, and a coalition of outside forces will take care of Hamas if needed. Number two, we don't agree on the West Bank, and you're going to have to deal with that. And number three, the United States is working with Syria and with Turkey's Erdogan, whether you like it or not. Trump is taking countries who are run by not-so-nice people, like Syria, like Turkey, and for that matter, Israel, and moving them off Britain's geopolitical chessboard and into the world dominated by Trump's America First policies of sovereignty. This is grand strategy. For the first time since 1945, the United States is acting as a sovereign nation, not as the queen protecting the empire's chessboard. And Trump is knocking the chess pieces off their board one by one. He's replacing permanent war with bilateral business. This is really big. But if you're stuck in the binary trap, arguing about which side is the good guys, you're not going to understand this. So if you're tired of being forced to pick a side in someone else's war, you're ready for the American side. Subscribe to Promethean Action right now. We don't feed you binary choices. We show you the history behind the conflicts and the sovereign solutions that are actually changing the world. So
I'm going to give you a binary solution.
The only acceptable political theory is complete undying loyalty to Donald Trump.
Anything apart from that is unacceptable.
head on over to our website and subscribe to our free newsletter. But I'll tell you who does get it. The elites in London. They know the jig is up and they're desperate to stop it. So the British Empire isn't going to go down without
British elites in London?
The Guinness Book of fucking retards.
a fight. On December 11th, not too long after Trump released his national security strategy, the British House of Lords was all ready. They held a pearl-clutching session about the NSS and what they had to do about it. First, Lord Beamish happily reported that the U.S. Congress doesn't agree with Trump and his national security strategy.
Last week, the U.S. Congress, on a bipartisan basis, passed the National Defense Authorization Act, which was signed by the President. That act gives a commitment to U.S. troops in Europe, also highlights that it sees Russia as a threat not just to Europe but to the United States, and also gives a commitment to future U.S. Commitment to providing the senior military figure for Secure, the leader of the commander of NATO.
Spit it out,
chump. My noble friend agree that we should be looking at actions rather than some of the wild statements coming from the White House?
Yeah. Me, when I hear that guy talk.
Oh, wow. That's pretty good. Well, you must be a high IQ person.
Then Lord Lancaster reported that he had just been in the U.S., where he discussed the problem of the national security strategy with
Juice Slayer.
This oath cult made Hermeticism. It became Hermeticism in Venice. It became Enlightenment in Holland, and the occult in Britain. The Kabbalah. The path is obvious. The Jippos are coming for Hyperborea. Fucking Stygians mad at Prometheus. Evola was right.
The Jippos are coming for Hyperborea. No! Not my Hyperborea!
I mean, kids, Magellan's a lot cooler than Justin Bieber. Mathematics, quantum mechanics, the secrets of the universe.
Your defeat will be certain, your demise will be final, and your downfall will be total and complete.
Welcome to the suck, homos!
Yeah. Then Lord Lancaster reported that he had just been in the U.S., where he discussed the problem of the national security strategy.
We're going to kill them.
Members
you know, they're going to be
Congress.
like dead.
I was in Washington, D.C. last week with other members of the NATO Parliamentary Assembly, and when the national security strategy was discussed with our fellow elected members in the US, their message was clear that NSSs come and go, sometimes they're implemented and sometimes they don't, but we should judge by what Congress passes, and the national
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
£8 billion to European defence and put a floor of some 76,000 troops, US troops in Europe.
Did you hear that? National security strategies come and go. Does that remind you of what we reported last week? How outlets of empire like Chatham House and the Council on Foreign Relations want to outlast the president by bringing his economic and strategic revolution to an end in 2026 or 2028? How they're maintaining their Trojan horses in the Congress and the rest of the political landscape? The rhinos, the never-Trumpers like Mike Pence and the Koch interests? So while too many in the MAGA base are caught up in the fabricated faction fights and secondary issues, or frankly are acting like 5-year-olds demanding headline-grabbing indictments right now, Donald Trump is dismantling a strategic architecture that has been in place since 1945.
MAGA grandma is telling you little boys to quit shitting in your diapers. It's time for you to get potty trained. Time for you to grow up. You need to start teething. You learn how to eat some solid food here, not just breaking slop.
An architecture that's used the United States as the dumb giant in the British Empire's globalist schemes, and the British know it. But even bigger than Trump's strategic revolution is the economic revolution, because that's what this is really all about.
Mr. Butt Poop says, all my homies are potty trained. Well, Mr. Butt Poop,
I've got bad news for you. You're Jewish.
Go back to the end of World War II and the summit in Casablanca, where Franklin Roosevelt said to Winston Churchill, Winston, we didn't fight that war to reestablish British 18th century methods. And Churchill countered and said, what do you mean by that? And FDR said, a system that takes more out of a country than it puts back in. Well, Roosevelt died before the war ended, and the result was the ultimate triumph of British 18th century methods, or a system which takes more out than it puts in. Look at what has happened to the United States. We used to have a middle and working class based on a robust manufacturing sector and a tradition of family farms. And here's what's happened since the end of World War II. In 1950, 31% of the U.S. population was engaged in manufacturing. Today, it's only 8%. And if you add other goods-producing sectors like agriculture and mining and transportation, we used to have 55% engaged in productive activity. Today, it is less than 20. Our good-paying jobs, our industry, our infrastructure, our family farms, they disappeared along with the middle class. Our economic sovereignty was stripped by British 18th century methods of financialization and free trade. In exchange, we imported everything, food, cheap crap, and our trade deficit exploded. In other words,
Somalians.
More was taken out than was put back in. Donald Trump is reversing that. That's why tariffs are such a powerful weapon and are so hated by the global elites. And they're working. We're rebuilding our manufacturing base and our economic independence. In November alone, ground was broken on 136 new factories, 78 processing plants, and 199 new warehouses. But even more important than physical growth is the reawakening of a productive spirit within the population, and especially among young people. Look at this headline. Look at the response of young people in Blue, Massachusetts, to the opportunity of getting vocational training and having a productive job rather than a dead-end liberal arts degree with tons of debt. And even more important than that is the promise of the future, of going beyond where we were at the end of World War II, before we surrendered to British 18th century methods. Trump's Truth Social merger with TAE Technologies, one of the world's leading fusion energy companies, signals something revolutionary. Cheap, clean, limitless fusion power will drive our economy into the future and propel mankind into the solar system. That is what will make America truly great and productive again. So, as we stand on the eve of 2026, the 250th anniversary of our independence, we have an unprecedented opportunity. Trump is dismantling the entire post-war imperial system. He's ending perpetual wars. He's rebuilding American manufacturing. He's treating nations as sovereign partners, not pieces on a chessboard. But he can't do it alone. 2025 was an incredible year, but the British establishment wants to turn back the clock. They will fight with everything they have, using their assets in Congress, the media, and the intelligence agencies. They'll create chaos and try and turn Trump supporters against each other. Well, don't fall for it. Keep your eye on the strategic picture. And that's where Promethean action comes in. We've been fighting this fight for decades, and we understand both the enemy and the solution. Get our newsletter, support us as paying members or contributors, and most important, get active. Because if enough of you join Trump and us on this battlefield, we will celebrate our 250th birthday by finishing what our forefathers started. So let's get ready for a very fateful new year. Thanks for watching.
Please take a moment and subscribe to our free newsletter at prometheanaction.com.
Oh. You guys subscribe? Go finish the fight with the MAGA grandmas. This was, I actually didn't, so it's funny, this tweet here I put out, I saw someone posted it in the King Pill Discord, and I didn't actually watch the video itself, but I just saw the content of it here and the traction that it was picking up. And there's people here in the replies. I watched a few of these channels' videos on YouTube, and they're excellent. I'd never heard of Britain framed this way. I thought Israel was the end game. Is it ultimately Britain then? I knew about the city of London. It's a game of semantics. The Crown is run by the same Rothschild banking mafia that created Israel as their headquarters of a one-world government. It's a decentralized global mafia that predates Israel and runs the world. Accurate enough, I think. Remember me saying how it all stems from the city of London? Yeah, this is the thing. Like, it is all basically the same thing. But if you're trying to reduce it to Jews, like, Israel is a proxy of the city of London. And there are absolutely Jews that are playing significant influential roles within the city of London and all of its power structures. But it can't be strictly reduced down to... All of these terms that we use all have to be understood as... Whether you're saying the city of London, whether you're saying the Jews, whether you're saying the British Empire, the globalists, these are all like symbols. It's like, pick your symbol. Pick your symbol that points to this thing here. Someone like Bibi Netanyahu is a bit player in this. He is a front man for other interests. He is, like, there are individual people like Elon Musk or Donald Trump or Bibi Netanyahu or pick your other person who can have more influence relatively than another person. But that doesn't remove the fact that this is a decentralized, globalized, almost like an organism, more than just like a particular people group. So here's I haven't actually watched this video. We might have watched it already.
The British Empire is panicked. NATO chiefs, British generals, even the head of MI6 coming out of the shadows, all screaming for escalation with Russia. They want you to look at the missiles. They want you to think that this is about territory or democracy. Well, it's not. They're not afraid of Russia. They're afraid of a PDF file released quietly in Washington last week, which signals the silent assassination of their entire financial model. The weapon that is terrifying London isn't a hypersonic missile. It's this. Now, it sounds boring, it looks bureaucratic, but inside these pages is the end of the City of London's mandate to loot the American economy. Don't let the name fool you. This is the economic equivalent of a declaration of war on the financier elite. It declares that...
The financier elite is another one of these words that's globalists, that's City of London, that's Davos, that's the High Table, that's the Jews, that's the Brits, that's the British Empire, the regime. Like, these are all different terms that you can use to try to get at the same concept.
From now on, people and economic growth come first, not financial parasites. And it comes right on the heels of the administration's national security strategy, which declares that sovereign nations come first, not globalist institutions. These were released within a week of each other. And these two documents reassert that American principles will now govern us, not imperial principles. I'm Susan Kokinda. This has been a battle that I've been part of since the 1970s. But I've seen how the British start wars and create narratives to keep you in the dark.
They've got a very good social media game for this sort of thing. I don't know what Slutty Milk is saying, but he said something about decunt. So decunt right back at you, sir. This is going to be my version of Jason's tweets that he like refers back to over and over again for the predictions that he made. I had to fire this one off here real quick just to make sure I had it on the record. City of London will become a household name by the end of 2026. Citation, King Pilled, December of 2025. I wish I could remember what date I actually talked about that. I can't remember if it was on the last show or the one before, but I remember I said this. And so I just had to say December of 2025. But I'm going to be referring back to this one, posted January 1st many, many times. Comrade says, seeing Susan, a sweet-looking grandma type, so clued into politics, made me think she was AI at first. Yeah. But they're afraid it was a PDF file. Epstein folks real hard right now. Okay, and then the very last thing here, I'm just going to include this for your guys' sake, if you want to go save this image to refer back to for future reasons at all. Overview of Trump's 2025 national security strategy starts with America First, which means prioritize U.S. power and prosperity, which is moving away from promoting democracy abroad. It also does not emphasize major power competition with countries like China and Russia, so it has a conciliatory tone. It has a regional focus, so a shift in U.S. relationships with European nations, urging them to take more responsibility for their own security. That means they're also signaling that they're going to reduce U.S. military support in Europe, encouraging European nations to self-police. The core initiative is forming a new group of major powers, U.S., China, Russia, India, and Japan, for global discussions. The cultural values they're expressing are align with U.S. foreign policy, or they want to align U.S. foreign policy with countries that share similar cultural and political values. And right now, Europe, the trajectory that Europe is on, is toward no longer sharing similar cultural and political values with America. So Europe is going to get sidelined in favor of U.S., China, Russia, India, and Japan. And then for the Middle East, normalizing relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Basically setting up the Middle East so that it can run more autonomously and doesn't need to be managed constantly on a day-by-day basis. Trump's national security strategy is a departure from previous U.S. foreign policy. This is a great little graphic that you could save. I don't know if 4G's Low is the one who made it, but it got the Susan Kokinda stamp of approval. So this here is, go save this. You can find the link to it in the King Pilled Substack. Go save that and post it around. Spread the word. And that is it. That is the Labe, the first Labe of 2026. Thank you guys for showing up. Thank you for the contributions to the streamer salary. As I said at the top of the show, tomorrow I will have the sign up form for the people who want to enter the drawing for a free 1-year membership in the King Pill Discord. So be sure you get here for that. I will drop the link, and you guys can enter your email addresses for consideration if you are not currently in the Discord. You are eligible for this, and then I will be announcing the winner on Saturday. We show up for the Saturlabe, the Sudawave. I got a little hint from our Sudaman on what the content is supposed to be. He said we are going sci-fi theme for week 50. Sci-fi theme for the Sudawave this Saturday. So make sure you guys show up for that. It's damn it, Jeremy says, join the fucking Discord. Yes, go join the fucking Discord. Kingpilled.com. Also, download EWBSX. Download it, listen to it. Give yourself those little white pill morsels every day. And stay tuned for interesting new things that will drop there. You want to make sure you're listening regularly so you hear when the new stuff happens. Open up the app. Pay attention to the push notifications as they come through, and stay tuned for everything on that front. And if you are watching on Rumble, then do me a favor, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Join the live chat. Let me know if it's working. And you can go follow me on Rumble. Look for King Pilled. There is King Pilled the person, which is me, and then there's King Pilled the channel. You're obviously welcome to follow both, but the channel is the idea here. So go follow the channel. Reminder to always say, okay, Doomer, when you run into the Doomers. And yeah, that's all I got. So I will be back tomorrow for another episode of the Astrolabe. Happy New Year to all of you. 2026 is going to be an amazing year because we are going to make it so. Let it be known. For now, I leave you with Hulk.
When they took a shot at my hero, and they tried to kill the next President of the United States. Enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America